Mylan, you asked that question before, and somebody replied to you, and you didn't see it. Like, right after you. Videos of Soyuz. Oh, gosh. Space links. Okay. Alright, I got all those links. Hang on. Hang on. I can get this. No. I could do this, but we'll do it another way. It's one of those songs that's good, but you don't remember the title, huh? You don't sound happy with the links. I'm happy with the links. What are you talking about? I'm just trying to listen to the song. I have the song on. You guys can't hear it. Oh, it's capote on the second fret. Yeah. Nope. I don't have a capote here at the house. It's at my folks' house. So, yep, that's not happening. I don't believe that anybody poops the way I do. Those aren't the lyrics, are they? Oops. All right, here. Let's just do a sound check here. Okay,
Discovery, go at throttle.
My shuttle finally came. The box is bigger than you thought it would be. That's what she said. Came here. 30-month resub. All right. Fair. I mean, all right. Here, I'll switch this over to just chatting for a second. I haven't forgotten about you, VOD viewers. So right about now is when anybody who was searching the VOD would see the directory change, and they'd come in and be like, okay, this is where EJ starts Space News. First of all, hi, how are you? Welcome. Willkommen.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Firestorm is very happy to be here. All right, let me move all the Space News links over, and we'll go from there. Okay. We have lots of video. Lots of video about MS-18 here. Okay. And then Copenhagen suborbitals testing injectors. Very nice. Very nice, eh? Oh, elegant, eh? All right. Yeah, there's news from Mars. Ever been to Mars? I was born on Mars.
Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Was ist das? Capo fun. I have one. It's just not here. Okay. Alright, and then NSF probably has some footage too. I'll go... I will go look. Two videos from them. Yeah, my wonder why. Damn it! Who? Why would you do this, Chet? Chet, you betcha, Chet. What's your favorite Star Trek quote? Kaplach. I don't really have a particular favorite quote, but... You shall not pass! It is a good day to die, but the day is not yet over. Khan! Do or do not. There is no try. Here. I got Wonderwall stuck in my head, and we need to not have Wonderwall stuck in our heads, so here's what we're gonna do. Ready? Okay, cool. Get down! Okay. All right. You ready? Space news. So we'll start out with what's going on over in Russia. They're getting ready to put MS-18 fully together. Here's some integration videos. I'm connecting with my Zoomer viewers. Yes, precisely. Huh. They are tipping the Soyuz, named Y.A. Gagarin right there on the side. Soyuz, the Russian word for union, with Yuri's name on it. Consider the following. Why don't you consider shutting up, Lavi? Alright, what's up? I don't want that. What's your favorite command module? Space shuttle. Lavi, это не хорошо. Нет. Вася, нет. Нет, это не хорошо. Нет. Yes, very nehorosho. Yeah, man, I know. I sent them my best. Okay, he's taking the ring off. That's the, so right there is the docking ring protector. That's the actual docking port right there. Dude, I love this footage. This footage is choice. Yep, see? Yep. Hey, you don't want anything in there. There you go. Blow it all out. There you go. Perfect. Now, spacecraft encapsulation here. What is your job? My job is to wear tracksuit and turned crank. What's your job? My job is to sit there and make sure he turns crank. You don't want to hear that the cosmonaut finds wooden dust in there. Yeah, I don't want that. Dude, something I've never noticed, Kem. See the struts right there? There's struts on the side of that Soyuz to hold it horizontally inside of the fairing. I never noticed that. I'm going to go ahead and guess that they probably pop off with the fairing. Okay. That was encapsulation right there. And now the next one. Oh, I played him backwards. I played them in the wrong order. Alright, so this was final processing here for Soyuz, see? And one of the antennas is spring-loaded there, see that? Okay, there's the lockout pin. I want to make sure that doesn't go. It's in the next video. Got it. You know, that's not that heavy, to be honest, for considering what it does. It's 16,000 pounds, somewhere around there. Not bad, not bad.
Готово! Кило 600!
Это корпорация, которая делала это. Загоняла совсем. Там нормально. Нормально, что военный.
That's a spaceship. Gotovo. I don't know what that means. Okay. What the heck do they open up here? That's on the service module. What is that, the propulsion? Whoa. Cool. Okay, they're installing the last plates on the service module there. Yep. Yes, this is a sock. So they haven't put the insulation on the Soyuz capsule yet. Okay, there's the payload attachment fitting. And this also attaches the fairing as well. It's an engineering sock, yes. Okay, I have another idiot American question. What do you call this? Don't just say a hat. What do you call that? Because here it's called a baseball cap. This kind of hat is called a baseball cap. Kepka. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, they don't have baseball over there. American head cover. Okay. Just a cap? Alright, let's just call it a cap. Right? Because, yeah, we call these ball caps over here. Klisotovka? Or Furazka? Clearly it's an easy way to spot an American spot. I was gonna say, dude's wearing a ball cap over there. Alright. I mean, I was gonna say, I don't see anybody else wearing a ball cap. Nobody else over there is wearing a baseball cap. They're all wearing hair nets or hard hats. Alright. And here's them putting... Huh? What does that say? Sporka? Raketa Soyuz 21A. Huh. Sporka? Sporks? Who's got sporks? Assembly of Soyuz rocket. Got it. Sure, Advantage. Man, it was opening day the other day, and the Red Sox to start the first season they got swept, so that's good. It's not. Package. Ah, okay. What's the most dangerous part about rocket construction? Engine testing, Dead Trim. Package, Sporka? Did I say it right? I don't think I said it right. How old is Soyuz? The first iterations of Soyuz flew... Hey, nice camera. Document every part of the assembly process right there. The first iterations of the Soyuz rocket flew as the Semyorka. It's derived from an ICBM, a first-generation intercontinental ballistic missile. From there, the Semyorka design moved to the Vostok and then Voskod. So an R-7 is what put Sputnik into space, the Russian word for satellite, in 1957. And then Vostok 1, a little bit later, put Yuri Gagarin into space on April 12th, 1961. We're coming up on, well, what would it be, 60 years. 60-year anniversary of human spaceflight. That's what the MS-18 capsule, that's why the MS-18 capsules has Yuri Gagarin's name on the side. The baseball cap. Baseballka. Yeah, John, that's right. Exactly in a week. That's right. Dovetail joint right there. By the way, happy first contact day. Ah, yes, yes. So... Tell me that's sped up. Yep. So these are elements of the first stage. The second stage is in the center there. There's a guy just sitting on the second stage. Right there. And then the third stage is over there. They're gonna hook that thing onto the dowel pin, and then that the crank on there is to level the thing. They crank it till it's level so they can attach it correctly. See the little crank? The crank is attached is on a pinion. A pinion worm gear. So they'll turn it and it'll shorten the length on one side or the other, and you can move the booster back and forth and level it. Should theoretically be the same thing every time. And there they go. So that's a pivot pin for separation. Yeah, see? Hey, that's the camera that I used before it broke. There's the pin for, well, a lot of things. That pin is the forward attachment point for the first stage boosters. And then also, when the first stage separates, there's a separator rocket that blows out on the center of mass of the booster when it's empty. And then if you go back and look at that thing, it's a pivot. It's a gigantic pivot. What this thing is going to do is the pivot and the ball will stay with the second stage when the booster goes to separate. So it'll blow off and it'll hinge. And when it hinges, it pops the top of the liquid oxygen tank on the booster off. And that's why the Soyuz has that very distinct separation where they pop the boosters off and then they start spinning. Because this little pivot right here basically pops the cap on the liquid oxygen tank, and then they use the LOX tank venting to push the boosters away. Here we go. Just gonna guide the pin in right there, and then bolt it down. I cannot imagine they use a hammer to install that pivot. Dude, Soyuz is... It's that simple, Kim. It really is. I mean, look, there's ratchet straps holding pieces on there. But that's not because, once again, that's not because it's a bad design. It's simple because it's easy to make. It's very easy to produce. It doesn't have to be complicated, man. That's why I like it. I appreciate it, Rocket. I really do. It's so remarkably simple. Like, it's a very good example of this stuff doesn't need to be too complicated, man. I like it. I really like it. I mean, we watched a video that Roscosmos did a little while back of them putting it together. Rocket, it's just a bunch of guys with TIG welders. Seriously. Just a bunch of guys with TIG welders. A press just stamps out a bunch of different panels and then just guys TIG weld it together. It's not complicated. I like that. I dig it. Doesn't have to be hard. Yeah, there's a little bit of a dome right here. And then they pop the cap off and it vents. What fuel does Soyuz use? RP-1 and liquid oxygen. That's right. Cool. I imagine that working on this is more of a craft than a science. That's right. Yeah, it's good stuff. So that was Soyuz MS-18. MS-18 is going to launch on the 60th anniversary of human spaceflight, and it's going to go up to the ISS for a little while. It's carrying Oleg Novitsky as the commander, Peter Dubrov, and then Mark Van Hay from NASA. Yeah, the guy's just casually sitting on the booster. It's cool. Soyuz is simple enough, or it's really not. You can sit on it, it's no problem. I mean, that thing is so simple that any fabrication shop, like any good body and fabrication shop in the U.S. could probably has the tools to make one. Not the space, but like you go to any custom shop, like a car customization shop here, they have enough. It's not that bad. Net October 23rd, 2021 for Crew 3. Fourth astronaut yet to be announced. NASA and SpaceX are targeting no earlier than October 23rd for the launch of the Crew 3 mission. Cool. Here are those guys examining the capsule. Let me see. Take a look. Spasiba. Yeah, it's not going to be for another couple weeks, Count. All right. Okay. So this is actually after they sleeve the Soyuz, right? They install the traction motors in there. Why do the Russians use 30 rockets for one stage of the N1 instead of a few large rockets? Because smaller rockets are easier to make. That's Oleg Novitsky right there. Peter Dubrov, Mark Van Hay. Dude, you get me every time. I always think it's NASA. Sorry. The F1 engine took a long time to make. It was in development before the Saturn program, correct? The F1's design goes back to 1957. Yep. Hey, 2020. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, dude. Stuff's been pretty crazy lately, but I will. I'll read it. Wasn't the F1 originally dropped? The F1 guys, I mean, you gotta remember the F1 barely worked. It barely worked itself, just barely. They had bad problems with keeping that combustion chamber pressure high with that thing. Pogo oscillations and stuff, meaning that they couldn't get it to stay at the thrust that they wanted it. They fixed it with baffling in the injector plate, but yeah. Did the Soviet Union also use all those engines because they had problems trying to manufacture an engine as large as the F-1? I mean, also, I don't know what you mean by also, Phil. That's literally what I just said. Yeah. So, okay. There's a great story about this, guys. It's here. Hold on. Here. You want to learn more about this or about why? I got something for you. There's this documentary on YouTube called The Engines That Came from the Cold. And I don't know if we can watch it. I'd love to watch it with you guys sometimes. What is pogo oscillation? When the rocket does this. I'll link it to you guys now. It'll basically tell you why. So it'll tell you first and foremost why, like, Atlas V uses a Russian rocket engine. And it'll second of all tell you where that technology came from, which is pretty good stuff. The long story short is that the Russians couldn't... So, okay, there's this thing with rocket engines. There's this design theory, and it's not really just a design theory. It's kind of how it works. Like, you can even see evidence of this today. So the thing is, you don't just build a bigger rocket engine, okay? It's like at a certain point, it just gets too complicated to manufacture. The rocket engines, you ideally want to make a bunch of small engines and cluster them together. So Korolev, the guy that invented Soyuz, when he went to design the N1, wasn't that far off. It's not a bad idea. The problem with that is once again, it's a trade-off. If you want a rocket that has more engines are easier to manufacture. If you make a bunch of smaller engines, they're easier to make. But your vehicle is going to be a lot more complicated in terms of plumbing. All right? The Saturn V, so the Americans, decided that they wanted to simplify the plumbing and make a slightly harder to make rocket engine, the F-1. There's a reason why we don't see engines that big nowadays. It's because they're not very efficient. The F-1 had the specific impulse somewhere in line with an SRB. Well, it's about as SRB as you can get with liquid fuel. And that was they had to run super fuel rich. That was the only way that it could keep the thrust up. Super fuel rich. To the point where the exhaust coming out of the F1, I'm not talking about, because it's not open cycle, is black coming out of the F1 nozzles. It's black for a second. Anybody notice that? That's how fuel rich they needed to run. They basically had to throw more fuel at the problem to get it to work correctly, right? So the Russians looked at that and said, "That's not very efficient." Korolev. I mean, they knew. There's no way they didn't know what was going on, right? So they looked at the F1 and said, "That's going to be really difficult to make. We should probably make a bunch of smaller engines." But Korolev had this problem. He was sitting there going, even if I make a bunch of small engines, so like if we just made a bigger version of Soyuz, the engines still aren't going to be powerful enough. So they basically couldn't figure out a way to make a bigger engine. So the idea was to make a bunch of smaller ones. But even if you made a bunch of smaller ones, which are easier theoretically to make, right? They still have to be more powerful. So he came up with something. Actually, you know what he did? He went to Kuznetsov. The Kuznetsov Design Bureau made airplane engines. They made jet engines. And he went to Kuznetsov and said, "Hey, I'm going to need you to use your airplane expertise here to kind of help me figure this out. I need to basically make an engine that's this size that can produce like this much thrust." And Kuznetsov, in the beginning, he said, "That's impossible. You can't do that. There's no freaking way. There's no way you can make a rocket that powerful, like a rocket engine that size, that powerful." And then they collaborated with it for a little while, and they came up with what we now know as the oxygen-rich stage combustion cycle. So basically, instead of throwing fuel at the problem like the Americans did, the Russians threw oxidizer at the problem to get a more efficient burn. A more efficient burn and a more complete burn on the fuel will get you more power. It'll get you way more power. You'll get a much higher combustion chamber pressure. Basically, it's like spraying nitrous into an engine. Anybody that likes cars, you spray nitrous oxide, the go fast button from Fast and the Furious. But the thing is, anytime you're running anything lean, anything oxidizer rich, heat is a big issue. So that's the problem that they needed to overcome. So they went down that road, and Kuznetsov and Korolev came up with this engine, the NK-15. Well, you could just say the NK-33. They came up with this thing right here. This is an NK-33. Actually, technically, that's an AJ-26, but I'll get into that some other time. This NK-33 was one of the first engines to put everything on a single turbo shaft. So a single power pack, which is basically the norm for a lot of rocket engines nowadays. A lot of Karolox rocket engines, I should say. And then have a pre-burner for the oxygen put in. And then the problem that the Russians had to solve was overcoming the temperature problem. So they basically came up with a special alloy. I don't know what it is. I'll bet you it's Inconel based or something. They had to come up with some crazy alloy to be able to handle the heat, but they found it. They found one that worked. And so they cooked up the NK-33. That's the first oxygen-rich stage combustion cycle engine, which is pretty damn impressive, to say the least. So basically what they do is they have a combustion chamber, over here in the form of a pre-burner, where they spray a lot of oxidizer and a little bit of fuel and then blow it up. And then you get a really oxygen-rich mixture that goes into the combustion chamber, and then they spray more fuel in, and then it blows out the bottom. You get a very, very powerful, small little engine. Using stage combustion cycles in small engines is something that people do today. Only with this thing here on the left. Only the funny thing is that the Raptor is even more complicated because it's a full flow, so it's fuel and oxidizer rich. But once again, we go back over here. They decided to do this, right? And these engines, if you look at them, they're very simple. Very, very simple engines for an oxygen-rich cycle. It's really, really not that complicated, right? I thought more oxidizer was a bad thing. Didn't we see that on SN8? Yes. Yes. If you don't make the combustion chamber out of the right metal, if you go oxidizer-rich, you'll melt the engine. That's what the green flames are. That's part of the engine being exhumed out the back of the back of the rocket. Yes, absolutely. The Russians figured out a way to take that and make a more powerful engine during the Cold War. So they had a very simple engine that was extremely powerful, and they decided to cluster a bunch of them together. The problem is they ran into plumbing problems because you have 33 engines in the first stage. The plumbing for the N1 was not the best. So, unfortunately, yeah, that's the next thing, Kem. Korolev, their chief designer for the N1, died halfway through its development. So, it never really came out correctly. Yeah, Korolev had to go. He went in for surgery and died from complications due to surgery in 1966, which sucks because he never got to see the thing fly. And I'm pretty sure without him at the helm, the program's basically doomed to failure once he died. Plumbing and electrical problems. Well, it's the vibrations that have that. I mean, when you have that many engines running that powerful, vibrations become a big problem. There's also change in power in the Soviet Union. I mean, there's also that, yeah. There's a lot of contributing factors, but we're talking about the engines, remember. So that's why the Russians decided to put like 33 engines in the first stage, because these engines are simpler and they're easier to manufacture, but you have a much more complicated plumbing schematic, which is pretty much the reason why the N1 didn't fly. Because they didn't sort out all the plumbing problems because they were behind. Because I mean, engine development, man, it always goes back to that. What is the program now in KSP? Let's talk about space news right now. So is Korolev or Von Braun more needed for their respective programs? Scary. So here, let me link up the engines that came in from the cold first. If you want to know more about this story, I'll link it up in chat. There you go. I know a lot about both, but I'm curious for your take. Wasn't N1 due to substandard materials from a pump supplier? I mean, Scary, there's a bunch of different reasons. I attribute the N1 not working to Sergei Korolev dying. Korolev's alive. He can keep the program going, even if it has failures. But without him being there, it's like Epcot without Walt Disney, dude. You get a watered-down version of it, and that's exactly what happened. N1 is like Starship nowadays. If you cancel it, yeah, and not let it fit, of course. Ares 1 would probably be my comparison, Chem, but yeah, absolutely. Are there any rocket engines with multiple bells share turbopump? RD-170, RD-180, of course. The Russians also came up with that. They distribute the heat over 4 nozzles. The documentary's on Amazon. We could do a watch party. Okay. Without Korolev at the helm, you get the same rocket used for 60 years. True that. Scary. So, was Korolev or Von Braun more needed for their respective programs? I'm saying Korolev was needed way more. Dude, Sergei, in order to get their space program to do space program things, he had to really, really do a lot of work, a lot of background work. And in that regard, he doesn't have an equivalent in the American space program. And I don't know if you want to look at this for better or for worse, right? Korolev was like if you took the NASA administrator, the head of human exploration operations, head of science mission directorate, and the chief designer, and rolled them all into one. That's basically what he was. He was in charge of everything, dude. And you know what the crazy thing is? He could handle it, which is just, all right. He's doing like 4 or 5 people's jobs, dude. Yeah, easily. There's no comparison. So when he passed, it would be like, it wouldn't be like just losing Von Braun for NASA. It would be like you losing Von Braun, losing Max Fizet, losing James Webb, and I'd probably rope Katherine Johnson in there too because she wrote the guidance systems. But yeah, like all those people all kind of combined into one. Dude, that's how hooked up he was, dude. He was in with the Politburo. He was everything. Like Korolev was like, it's amazing. The whole thing. It's not just Soyuz that's his design. It's the entire Soviet space program, pretty much up until 1974. And then Glishko thought he could do it better. And there was also Kolome, honorable mention from that guy. One hell of a designer. UR-700 is kind of a little cuckoo, though. Yeah, John, he died from complications from surgery. I don't know, man. But yeah, the server had a RUD. Oh well, we'll fix it. I know about Curious Droid Bank. I've seen that video before. Engines that came from the cold explains it the best. I think if he didn't die, the N1 might have worked, but they still wouldn't have beaten us. See last Raptors on SM-15 if you get a second. Yep. No, I haven't done any of that, Grab Shark. I usually save Starship news for last. It was a planned restart. Okay. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting stuff. I mean, Ryan, you say I think if he didn't die, the N1 might work, but they still wouldn't have beaten us. I mean, Yeah, the U.S. space program had a ton of momentum behind it. The reason we had a ton of momentum behind the program was because President Kennedy died. That's the reason. Yeah, that's the real reason why we had so much momentum behind it. I mean, Kennedy had a bold claim, right? He had a pretty bold claim, and I don't know if we would have done it as soon as we did if he didn't say we choose to go to the moon, right? But we definitely wouldn't have done it as soon as we did if he didn't die. Like, you know, it was about avenging our fallen president. Automaton mentum. Yep. If the N1 would have landed later, the U.S. wouldn't have canceled its Saturn program. I think that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, well, they were using the same strategy Argnid as Starship. Put it on the pad. The N1 had no test stands. No test stands. They had a couple of integration building tests, and then they basically put one on the pad with a dud, I think it was a dud third stage and a dud Soyuz and a dud lander, and sent it. So, like I said, more like Ares 1. What would space be like now if he didn't die? I don't know. We'd definitely be further on in space, that's for sure. But the 67 Space Treaty also kind of... I'm not going to say that it messed it up. It probably is for the better, you know. Destroying the launch pad in the process took them a few years to fix it. Yeah, they had two. They had 2 pads. Site 110 has 2 pads. I ain't worried. Ugh. A documentary called For All Mankind. Don't ever call that a documentary. Ever. But what I mean is, if they see we're launching in a month, they may throw up like a completely untested 5% chance of success mission just on the hope that it works. I guess. If the N1 landed, we'd have space shuttles orbiting the moon. Yeah, Yard, I don't think so, man. But, I don't know. A lot of contingent things happened during the 60s. Who knows? Anyway, check out the engines that came in from the cold. Quite good. Anyway, let's move that over there. I'm trying to organize all the Russian news. Here we go. All right, what's this next one? Huh. The government approves the extension of the agreement with the United States on outer space. The Russian government approved the extension of the agreement between Russia and the United States on cooperation in space until December 31st, 2030. The corresponding order is published on the agency's website. The agreement, started in 1992, has already been extended 4 times. This document is one of the main legal instruments that forms the conditions for Russian-American cooperation in space. The agreement between Russia and the United States on cooperation in the exploration and use of outer space for peaceful purposes will be valid until December 31st, 2030. The proposal to extend it was approved by Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin. Okay, cool. It is clarified that the decision was previously worked out with the American side, and the extension procedure will be completed after the exchange of diplomatic notes. The draft Russian note is attached to the order approved by
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Mishustin. Okay. The extension of the agreement is in the interest of both parties and will contribute to the effective implementation of joint space projects. What do you see launching first? Blue Origin's new rocket or Rocket Lab's new one? Blue Origin. Davisaurus, 39-month resub. Thank you. According to the document, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation was instructed on behalf of the government to exchange notes constituting the agreement, allowing, if necessary, amendments to the attached draft that are not of a fundamental nature. All right, hey. Well, that's good news. I'll take that. That's fine. Don't mind working with y'all over there. That's pretty cool. Don't tell Putin about that. Yeah, something tells me if there's money involved, you wanna, И это хорошо. Да. Yeah, me too. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Seriously, let's go. Let's go to the moon. Poyekali. To the moon. Let's go. I don't know where the MOU with China fits in with that, though, so who knows? Has any Starship test been 100% successful? SN5 and 6? Is Putin a dictator? Not the right question for chat. Don't tell Wide Man about what? Nothing. Do they get to keep Venus in the new agreement? Pete, I'm gonna take the cheeky question and I'm gonna turn it around. Actually, the Venera D probe is going to be a joint collaboration with the United States. The next probe that they're going to send to Venus. Supposedly, the U.S. is going to send a hang glider that's going to fly around in Venus's atmosphere while the Russians send a lander down. The Russians are making a lander and we're making the sensor equipment for it. We keep Venus no matter what the agreements. All right, you guys get Venus. We'll take Mars. That's fine. Yeah, we'll take Mars. Deal? We'll ironically take the red planet. You guys take the green planet. I want Venus though. So? It's not about you, comrade. Who takes the belt then? What about the native Martians? What, a bunch of robots and a damn helicopter that we put there? We're good. Their early space program totally would have and did if the circumstances. Yeah. No, I'm American. I'm American to say it's mine. You Paris all the same. No regard for native life. Do you want to win or not? I invite you to visit Venus. Just don't forget to get a Russian visa. Robots have feelings too. Yeah, you're right. Oh, wait. No, you're not. I'm claiming Pluto for the British. Alright. Yeah, that's fair. Sure, why not? Europe gets the belt, duh. China can have Mercury. But only if the stop dropping... Yep. RB claims Uranus. Okay. It's weird, but alright. Alright, let's keep going. Alrighty, the conceptual design. Here we go. Katya Pavlichenko is saying the conceptual design of the Emir SPG rocket will be ready in September of 2021, says Alexander Blashenko, the executive director of Roscosmos. The methane-fueled rocket will take into low Earth orbit 12 tons of payload in the expendable version and 10.5 tons in the reusable version. Let's see what we got. I was going to give Uranus to the Aussies. The Australia... Yeah. You give Uranus to the Australian Research Space Endeavour. Yeah, there we go. The Australian Research Space Endeavours. Yep, makes perfect sense. All right. My pick told me how to say this word last night, and it sounded like he was... The Australian Space Society. Yep. Is it just me, or does 10.5 tons seem odd for a Russian rocket? Why? Why would that seem odd for a Russian... What? Divigitalia. Kind of have to wait what they come up with. Same with Yenisei. Well, I don't mind what I see here, that's for sure. So this is the Emir SPG rocket. It's a Methalox reusable rocket that Russia's working on right now. Definitely a little bit of a different design here, but I do like it. It's cool. Specifically this part. This part right here above my head. Transnaptirovka. Check this out. Transnort. So the rocket's gonna go down range, it's gonna boost back, it's gonna land, and then it's gonna be small enough to be able to be moved by a MiL-26. Transport back to... Nope, my brain defaulted back to English. Texomatpa. No, that's not it. Checkouts, yeah. Teosmatra. Ah, okay. Cool. Inspection, yeah. Transport back to the launch site for inspection or something along those lines. Texas something. Texosnort. Texaco. See? Texaco. Yeah, right? See? It's a Texan oil company. Does Texaco still exist? I have no idea. You need to pronounce H in words and not omit. You Americans H? There's no H in there. Where's the H? Where's the beef? No, I got you, man. So, good idea. I think this is cool. 5 methane engines in the first stage. That's pretty neat. Kind of looks like Freedom 10. Cam? What the hell is this? Black, what's going on? You're last. Okay. Minus the huge jet engine. Shut up. Shut up. Camelot. It's only a model. Is that in the same range as Soyuz? More or less. Yeah. Roscosmos owes me some royalties. Sorry, I leaked your blueprints to Roscosmos. Ah! Had by Stiglitz again! We'll get James Bond to go over there and... Yeah. Damn you, Stiglitz. Boop. I'm getting to it, Swishio. Not bad. This is a cool little rocket. They're working on it, and check this out. Uh-oh. Hey, he thinks it's a good idea. I'm in. What? Yeah, full reusability. Hey. Have you tried doing the hardest thing in rocketry? Have you tried doing that yet? You know what's messed up? I know he didn't mean that. He didn't mean it like, oh, well, you should do full reusability. No. He probably looked at it and said, good idea. Should make that second stage reusable, though. One step at a time. Hey, at least they're trying. I'm looking at you, Europe. Yeah, precisely, Cirrus. Yeah. Launch of trampoline. The trampoline. Yes. Still not over the Russians didn't sell the rocket. No, actually, I think Elon's past that. I think he's it's weird. Elon's spoken pretty highly of the Russian space program in the past, despite the trampoline stuff. And oddly enough, Dmitry Rogozin, who crap posted about the trampoline, thought it was funny when Elon memed the trampoline joke back at him, which is... Alright. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Elon said in the past that the Russian space program's is a good program, but Korolev would be pissed if he found out you were still using his rocket. Falcon 9. Yeah, right. Yeah, he said that they're good rockets, but they're old. But I don't know. It's like it's weird because he does the same thing with Ford. Like Elon just talks nicely about Ford. It's the weirdest thing. He likes Ford. He's a blue oval guy. I don't know that for sure. But hey, at least we got some updates on Emir, which is pretty nice. Because the Russians came out with Emir and everybody said, you're just copying us. You're copying SpaceX. And the Russians are like, never mind. Are SpaceX rockets fully reusable? No. They're working on it. They're trying. 6 Dragon launches in the next 6 months. Huh? Alright, well, I'll rope that into the space news, I suppose. Do you think that given enough time they would try to man-rate that booster or keep Soyuz for launching crew? Probably try to man-rate it. But hey, you know what, man? At least they're frigging trying. Credit where credit is due. At least they're freaking... At least, I mean, the money's coming in. The money's coming in from somewhere. They're building new launch complexes. They're building new pads. Like, you're against this rocket? You don't like it? Why? I really hope they finish the Krilo SV, the Pico way of landing boosters with wings. Flyback boosters. I agree. I like flyback boosters. We discussed it, I think. So, okay. Overall, I think the Russian space program, and I guess I'll put my 2 cents in, or 2 rubles in this particular case. Russia. So my thing is that there's too many. You have too much stuff. There's too much. There's too many things. You have Yenisei, you have your Tush, you have Baikal, you have Soyuz 5, you have old Soyuz 21B, you have Proton, you have Angara. There's too much. Too much stuff. Consolidate it down. There's too many things. Too many things. Too many things. I would pick 2. Pick 2. The hell with everything else. Do the U.S. still launch astronauts with Soyuz after Falcon 9 was man-rated? NASA astronauts bank have been launching on Soyuz since 2000. It's something that's been going on because you mix crews on purpose on the ISS. You don't want a problem going wrong with the Russian part of the station and have no Russians up there. That's not a good idea. Same with the international side. Bad idea. The 2 primary mission controls for the ISS are in Houston and in Moscow. Star City in Moscow. You don't want to not have a Russian and not have an American up there. Bad idea. Very bad idea. So they've always mixed crews. Even during the shuttle, Sergei Krikalev, who's the head of the cosmonaut corps over there, he's flown on the shuttle many times. 2 times, I believe. But anyway, that's the thing with the Russian program. I honestly think you guys have too much stuff. There's too many things going on for a national space program, and I don't know. I mean, maybe there's enough of an economy to sustain all this. But Kem, I think you're right. Emir and Angara, that's the way to go. That's the way to go, dude. Yeah, давай. Emir and Angara. Thanks for streaming. All right, Angle. Have a good night. Sleep well, buddy. That's correct, Buck. Also, Buck, that's I finished the Vice-Grip video. It ain't no Mopar. I know what that is. Do you know what that is? Angara, I'll take Angara and Emir, PY. Emir to replace Soyuz, Angara to replace Proton. But here's what I would do. You really want my honest opinion? Here's what I'd do. I would have Oriole launch on Angara, and I would have Oriole Knock launch on Emir. You simultaneously test reusability, and you have a capsule with 2 different variants that could launch on either rocket. That's a good idea. They built the Emir because the Americans have Falcon 9. Hey, whatever. Dude, I don't... PY, we've talked about this many times. Everybody copies everybody in the space program, all right? You copy us, we copy you, Chinese copy everybody. That's just how that kind of rolls, man. Everyone copied the V2, if we want to be really clear, and then everybody the V2, even the V2 guys, Von Braun and Oberth copied Goddard's work. Like, we talk about this, everybody copies everybody's stuff. Whatever. Hey, Emir's not strong enough to lift Oriole Knock. Well, if you're only going to low Earth orbit, Kem, couldn't you use Oriole Knock's service module to shoot off into space? Very similar to what a Soyuz does. What did the U.S. copy from the USSR? I'm pretty sure that the HL-20 this is a copy of the Spiral plane, Emir. I'm pretty damn sure. Yeah, Goss, Geary, you guys said all the same stuff. They land, we should too. Like Baren's a waste of money. Yeah, Firebird. Yep, that's right, Fozzie. Yeah, pretty awesome. They can just use the new shuttle that they're developing. Well, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be an X-37 analog, so that's unmanned. Also for space, big news coming from Lockheed Martin. Okay. Brima didn't like my tweet, huh? Buran is a waste of money if you make it and then cancel it. Kem, it's funny how it doesn't matter if it's Russian, Chinese, European, American. If you pay to develop it and then cancel it right after, it's a waste of money, no matter what monetary system you use. I almost knocked Sasha over. You see that? Reflexes? I can't like speed and reflexes. All right, anyway. Yeah, it's only a waste of money if you don't do anything with it. It's funny how that works, right? Yeah. All right, let's see. Next news. So this news is coming from the surface of Mars here. You may have seen this picture, but if you haven't seen it yet, this is coming from one of Perseverance's cameras. I'm not saying it was aliens. But it was aliens. Someone should explain this basic concept. Yeah, I know, Blue, right? Yeah, funny how that works. It's almost like that's the reason why I don't like one of your reports. Boo, do you see that? That's your dad. Did you see this? What is that? Was ist das? Yeah, I did. That was linked a couple of times. I checked that out after the stream. Cold fart gas goes in the top. It's liquid fart gas. Thank you very much. So, they deployed Ingenuity. We're at 44 to 45 sols in on Mars. They deployed it, And, yeah, we should be getting ready for a flight here in about a week, actually. A little bit under a week. Yeah, see the Easter eggs right there? Og. Yeah, Ingenuity deployed, and it survived its first night, which is pretty cool. Man, that's cool. They're targeting April 11th. That's right. Yep. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. All right. Phil, what's this article that you got here? Bright.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Lowly Henchman, 2-month resub. What is this? What? Lockheed Martin makes block buy of launches from ABL Space Systems. This article is by Jeff Faust over at Space News.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Lockheed Martin has signed a contract with small launch vehicle developer ABL Space Systems for as many as 58 launches over the next decade. That's almost 58 launches. The contract, announced April 5th, covers up to 26 launches of ABL's RS-1 rocket through 2025. An additional 32 launches from 2026 through 2029. These launches would take place from any several locations, including Cape Canaveral, Vandenberg, and the Shetland Space Center under development in the United Kingdom. Who made a space center in Shetland?
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Wait, which one is Shetland? Hold on. Shetland. Did I just hear Vandenfog? Kem, what's Cupid? Is it, you're replacing Soyuz with, Emir. Okay. All right. Got it. Where is this? It's where the little horses come from. Oh. Whoa. You're going to build a space center up here? Dude. Oil. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? They're going to build it just in time for Scotland. Well, that would be just awkward. I smell it. I can taste it. The Texas tea. The tea? Wait a minute. No, throw it in the harbor. Wait, no, don't do that. Oh, God, what are my that didn't come out right. I'm having a crisis. If oil is Texas tea, we don't like tea and we want to throw it in the harbor. Does that mean we should cause an oil spill, or? I'm having a Chrysler right now. Wait, I have a Chrysler. We threw oil in the harbor? We threw a lot more than oil in the harbor. We threw oil, we threw poop, industrial waste, a couple of bilge pumps from ships. Hands off. That's ours. You bombed desert for yours. Scotland, desert. And before Scotland becomes the 53rd state. I mean, if you guys want in, just saying, you can vote on that if you want. It's up to you. I mean, you guys like frying stuff. We like frying stuff. It kind of works, to be honest with you. Join us. Losing free healthcare for guns? Well, but you can do that. That's fine. Never mind. But you don't want a DACA? You don't want a DACA? I don't. That? All right. I don't know about you. I like my DACAing. Oh God, Mason. No, Mason. Don't talk about that. P.Y. Scott would be like, nah. Yes, Primo. I'm more for the less. Yeah, okay, all right. I mean, Ring America. Actually, yeah, you guys could vote on it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Brits have something to say about that one, mate. But they could vote too if they want. They would never do that. They would never do it. That would never happen in a million years. Anyway, let's keep going with the contract here. So, not only do we have ABL signed through for 26 launches. 26 launches from 3 different launch sites. That's pretty good, man. That's the only downside. Flower of Scotland is the answer. Okay. Could if you wanted to. It's really if you want to, though. Alright, let's see. The companies declined to disclose the total value of the contract. ABL lists a price of $12 million for the RS-1, which would put the total value of the contract at $696 million if Lockheed orders all 58 launches at that price. Although such bulk purchases usually offer some level of discount. Let us keep her free healthcare and you think about it. Josh, see, that's the dirty little secret. You could do that. Sure, no problem. We leave it up to the states, man. You could absolutely do that within the frames of the Constitution. Yeah, sure, no problem. I'm just saying, just putting it out there. Like the state that I live in has state healthcare, guys. Just saying. I'm just putting it out there. That's Josh. That's what nobody talks about this. I don't know why nobody talks about that. You can do that. Sure, no problem. Wouldn't be wise. We'd be the new Florida. I mean, okay. We could always do with more Florida people. That's fine. I mean, hey, it's up to you. Anyway, companies declined to disclose the total value of the contract. Lockheed, which made a strategic investment in ABL in 2019, selected the company's RS-1 in February for the UK Pathfinder for the Shetland Space Center. All right, Lavi, who the hell are these people? Where did these, like, we're just pooping out rocket startups like you would not believe. How does this even happen? I don't understand. Where did this come from? Lockheed Martin had made a significant investment in Rocket Lab in 2015, so it was surprising to hear that they chose ABL earlier this year. Phil, let's be real. Lockheed Martin has enough money to afford both of those things. What if... That makes 2 launch sites in Scotland. Can you have a third? I mean, You guys got oil and two launch sites, Tesla. Are you sure you're not? I mean, you sure? You hear about another new launch company every week. Kem, it's kind of ridiculous, huh? And it, you know what, Kem, you know what's ridiculous about it? Okay, the thing that's like, that I'm like, okay, is it's not just people, you'd think there'd be more guys that are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna launch something into space, herder, and then never do it. All these companies actually have rockets. I mean, Rocket Lab, obviously. There's Rocket Lab, there's Firefly, there's Relativity, there's ABL now. Okay, freaking ABL. Who else? There's obviously SpaceX, right? Like, what? There's Astra, Orbex. All these guys have flight hardware. Like, is there really demand for all of them, though? I mean, Phil, clearly there is. Like, that was what there's Launcher. Yeah, Launcher 1, freaking Virgin Orbit. Like, I mean, their ABL valuation is 1.3 billion, by the way. Phil, do you think? Okay, I'm gonna play a weird idea off of you guys here. Okay, do you see rocket companies being bought out or merging in the coming years? Absolutely. Something feels weird about ABL. Defense contracts, Gorn. Phil, you ever think that Lockheed Martin is... Okay, here's my idea. Let me give me a second to kind of put it all together. We have descendants from all over the place, God, but yeah. Yes, Richio. Well, that's what Relativity's working on. Phil McCracken, is it you? Do you think that Lockheed is trying to launch some kind of constellation and invested in Rocket Lab and ABL on purpose so they can all launch whatever constellation they're making? That sounds like something that they would do. Check Discord. Okay, here's what Labby said.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
I mean, if we wanted to do something like that. Hey, user guy, welcome to Mission Control. You go at throttle up. I mean, I don't know, Levy. Maybe. Who knows? Last. We also have a history of fighting the English for a lot longer than you and screaming about freedom. Are you sure you're not... I mean... They may take our lives. They'll never take our freedom! I mean, you like freedom, we like... Actually, Tessa, the more I think about this, the more I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea. We should do that. That'd be awesome. Yeah. It's a good idea. As long as you guys are cool with it. I don't want to be like, no, it's ours now. We don't do that anymore. That's frowned upon nowadays. Seriously, don't do that. Raptor comparison. Okay, Grab Shark, I have it. Where did these pictures come from? Just want to make sure we give credit where credit is due. I think they know small satellites are the future. One example would be the Space Defense Agency. Oh, that's not ominous at all. Why don't you just call it Umbrella Launch Company? Or Umbrella, either one. One example would be the Space Defense Agency with their new missile tracking constellation. Something's afoot here, man. So change the name to United States of Scotland and we're in. That's not... Guys, should we tell them? That's not really how that works. We could just lop off the America thing if you want. Just United States, that's fine. Go with that. I mean, because there wouldn't be United States of America anymore. It would be the United States of the world. Literally, that's never going to happen. Okay. Okay, new plan. Okay, new plan. I got a new idea. We take Scotland, Ireland, Iceland, Greenland, Canada, the United States, and anyone in Europe that wants to join, and we make a North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Like, yeah, a North Atlantic Treaty area, okay? And that just becomes the United... What, that's been done? When did they start doing this? That'll never work. Oh. Oh, well. That was a joke, by the way. I know what NATO is. Jesus. UNSC, Grabshark. I'd prefer the Halo timeline, if at all, please. Alright, well, interesting. Interesting that's going around here. Let's see. I'm looking around for... Copenhagen Suborbitals is testing out... here, let's check it out. There was a stream from them the other day. And when I mean the other day, I mean yesterday. They did they tested their Swirlport injectors here. Let's go over here. Where's the fire? That's snowing sideways. The United Empire of Ohio. Always has been. Yeah, username. Yeah. Yeah, me too. I'm surprised about that too. That's normal summer weather. Let's see. Hey. Hey. I want to see the swirl injector swirling. There it is. All right.
3, 2, 1. Ignition.
Oh. Oh. Oh, that's... Yes. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Top job. Hell yeah. Very nice. A little bit overexpanded there. Just a teeny weeny bit, but otherwise very good. Very, very good. The reason why the plume's probably a little overexpanded is they're probably not testing at 100%. It's probably throttled back a little bit. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, the stick broke.
1. Ignition.
Oh, it's the... I see what the stick does. Okay. Why do we get mock diamonds on rockets? Still confused the more I read. Alleviate, does that help? That's difficult to do, Core, in a convergent divergent design. That's definitely not the same physical phenomena. That's not the same. That's not the same at all. It's water. It's not gas. They're totally different, EJ. That's totally different. That's totally different. Totally different. Yeah, no shit. Thanks. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I'm going to time myself out for 15 seconds. Worth it. Okay, Alleviate, long story short, what's happening with the shot cone, the shot cone is something similar to a boat wake, okay? So with the boat wake, you have the initial wake that's made by the front, right? And then in the back, you have the water that kind of collapses in on itself, right? That's what that second part of that wake was, right? The back that I was pointing at. Now, you know, I'm amazed that people think here that I don't know the difference between water, which is not compressible, and gas, which is. I'm amazed that people even, you know, oh, well, that's not the same. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It's the shape that I'm after. Because the gases are doing something very similar, okay? So, Alleviate, what's going on there is that you have your engine. Your engine is shooting out gases that are extremely hot, okay? What happens to gases that are extremely hot, per the ideal gas law? Whew, expand. Well, it's not really per the ideal gas law. Hot gases expand, right? Pretty straightforward stuff. Cold gases compress. All right? Right? What's going on there is that coming out of the rocket engine, the gases are so ridiculously hot and the pressure is so ridiculously high, they're trying to expand. But they have the entire weight of the atmosphere on top of them, so they end up collapsing in on themselves, just like the boat wake. Same exact thing. It's the same shape, I guess. It's not the same phenomenon, but it's the same shape. Okay? They collapse in on each other. That's why you see that. That's why you see the cone. That's why that's there. Now that doesn't happen on an engine that's up in the vacuum. An engine that's up in the vacuum looks like what happens if you put your thumb over a hose, because the gases just shoot off in all different directions, right? Why do they do that? Well, it has to do with pressure. A rocket engine down here in the atmosphere at 1 bar, the gases will come out in a nice even column, potentially even collapsing in on themselves. Up there, they just expand almost infinitely because there's no pressure up there, right? That's why you get the shock cone. The gases are expanding and they're coming back and hitting each other. Just like a boat wake. Just like a boat would move the water out of the way and then the water would come back and hit itself. Same thing. Dude, mock diamonds are caused by the differences in air pressure. Boat wakes are caused by the interference in the waves and water. Oh, man, you just really want to be right, Jonas, don't you? Okay. Under pressure, pushing down on me. Yeah, nice. We'll get to Starship news in a second, Builder. But yeah, I mean, guys, it's the shape that I'm after. I know that water and gas is completely different, guys. Seriously. You didn't even let me finish. You didn't even let me finish the sentence. I just showed a picture and you're like, no.
I just need you to know that H2O is not a gas.
See, even Brimo thinks you're full of it. See? 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 It's one thing to get me to say that to me, but now look, Brimo 2 is peeved. Do not peeve the Brimos. I will tell you that is a very bad idea. No, seriously, Jonas, I know the difference. I know the difference. It's the shape that I'm after, because the shape is very similar. I understand the differences between gases and liquid. For the love of God, man. Come on, help me help you, please. I'll stop picking on you? Alright, geez, sorry. I don't think interference patterns are a good analogy for what happens in mock diamonds. Jonas, you gotta backtrack a step. If Alleviate's asking about why a shock diamond happens, do you think Alleviate, and I'm not trying to say Alleviate that Alleviate's stupid, do you think interference, do you think he knows what that means? I gotta keep it simple, man, because if I go off about interference patterns and in convergent, divergent nozzle design and over and under expanded flows in detail, right? Like, he's gonna, yeah, I understand that, EJ. Okay. I have to kind of simplify it a little bit. And unfortunately, when you simplify it, the best thing that I try to do is find shapes that show the same kind of thing. Because shapes are easy for humans to pick up. How did the second diamond happen in others? It's just collapsing in on itself over and over and over again. You'll get more shock diamonds if you have a higher chamber pressure. I can't go full engineering, Jonas. You know I want to. I can't do that, though. I gotta keep it relatively simple here, man. Has he done Starship yet? Oh, boy. You should go all the way in. This is more interesting. Well, the shape breaks down over time, PY. It really depends. EJ, one question, I think you said that at the exit of the nozzle the pressure is high, but isn't it small and that's why it collapses under the atmospheric pressure? I mean, kind of, Pata. Okay. Inside of the rocket is very high pressure. Inside of the throat is the highest. That's where the gas is going the fastest. When it's coming out the nozzle, it's still accelerating, but it wants to expand. It's trying to, but it's hard to explain. See, now Jonas would be the time where we get into the gas is kind of, dude, it's weird. This is getting into the advanced aerodynamics, and I can't really. I'm trying to come up with a simpler way to say this, but the honest to God truth is that there's not really a good way to dumb that one down. Just go with the helicopter answer. Black magic. Yeah. It's not that the pressure coming out of the rocket engine is less than atmospheric pressure, okay? It's being shot out at a high rate of speed. So I'm searching my brain for different shapes here. Like, just because it's coming out fast at a higher pressure doesn't mean it won't get perturbed by other things. Like, that's the right way to say it, I guess. Like, an example that popped in my head is if you shoot a rifle over long range, gravity, even though that bullet's going really fast, gravity is going to affect it and change its direction, right? Same kind of thing going on there. Just because the atmospheric pressure is collapsing the plume doesn't mean that the pressure of the plume is lower than lower or equal to 1 bar. It's a perturbing force, right? Which is why the plume, it just kind of buckles in on itself a couple of times and then it eventually kind of just goes away, right? Just because it collapses in on itself doesn't necessarily mean that the pressure is equal, right? See Vasia's last, okay? Imagine an explosion going off underwater. It expands and collapses, expands and collapses. When it collapses, it gets denser and hotter and begins to glow. Now stretch this thing on a line over time instead of a point and you got your shock diamonds. Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, that's getting into the nitty-gritty stuff, right? And that's the stuff where I can't really recall it off the top of my head. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'd have to go read RPE about it. Static pressure is high, but dynamic pressure is low. Yeah, that's really, now you're getting into the nitty-gritty stuff. And that's, once again, it's not that I don't know it, it's that just off the top of my head. Like, you gotta remember, everything is off the cuff here, alright? What I try to do is look directly at the camera when I'm explaining stuff to show people that I know what I'm talking about. And I'm not reading off like a cue card or something. That's why I always do this, right? And miss a bunch of messages in chat, because I'm trying to talk to you. Like, I'm not like, there's no gimmicks here. If I have to go look something up, I will do it directly on stream right here and read about it. I'm very anal about that rule. But if we want to get into more detail, I'd need Rocket Guy to explain that one. Stennis is tweeting, "It's that time again. Stay tuned for a Facebook Live event of an RS-25 engine test. This test is tentatively scheduled tomorrow. January 28th, 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Central at the Stennis Space Center. Ooh, another RS-25 test. Cool. I remember you said SLS gets you 7 to 8 of the way there. Why would you do this instead of something to get you 8 to get you all the way there? Well, Ryan, that's okay. Straightforward at the camera. All right. So Gateway is designed, all right, to be 7/8 of the way there. Because even though you're technically by distance 7/8 of the way there, in terms of delta V, you're probably about 2/3 of the way there. Okay, so what does that mean? What does that mean? Like, what are you talking about? Delta V is how far a spacecraft can go in space, right? The more delta V you have, the further you can go in space, right? Pretty straightforward, Ryan. It's just basics of the basic rocket science right there, okay? Now, Gateway is in a type of orbit that even though it's at the moon and 7/8 of the way there, you know, if 100% delta V in this particular analogy means, you know, launch pad to surface of the moon, Gateway is about 60% of the way there in terms of delta V. In terms of distance, it's 7/8 of the way there. You're very close. Just because you're very close to something in distance does not mean that it's, you know, SLS, 90% of SLS is being used to get there. That's not how that works. Okay? So, why is this a big deal with Gateway? Well, with Gateway, the type of orbit that it's in, because it's 60% of the way there in terms of delta V, right? But in terms of distance, it's 7/8 of the way there, right? Because it's 60% delta V, theoretically, you need a rocket that's 60% of the size to get to Gateway. What does that mean? That means that Gateway can be reached by Falcon Heavy, Delta IV Heavy, even Atlas V in heavier configurations. Proton could get a pretty good payload out there if it tried. Angara definitely would be able to move stuff out there. China with their Long March 5 could move stuff out there if that ever happened. I can dream, I guess. See what I'm talking about? The Gateway can be reached by rockets that aren't Saturn V sized. So, I know what the next question is going to be. What's the next question? The next question is, well, why the hell do we have SLS anyway? And that's a question, to be fair, that a lot of people ask. Now, my question back to them would be, well, what gets you the next 33% of the way there? That means you need a fully fueled lander at Gateway's orbit to get you the rest of the way there, right? That's what SLS is for. SLS is for getting people out there first and foremost, right? Because all those other rockets can only resupply. The only rocket that's big enough to move humans to Gateway is SLS at this time. Starship, maybe someday. I hope. I'd want to see Starship and Orion out at the Gateway. That would be really nice, right? SLS can move the people there, and SLS can also move the lander there if we so choose to do that. Now, that means that SLS would need a bigger upper stage or stage with more delta V to get you more than 60% of the way there, right? The stage with the lander will get you to Gateway, and then the lander will get you the rest of the way there, right? That's why the HLS program, the Human Landing System program that Jim rolled out, that's being worked on right now with NASA, is such a big deal. Because right now, there's no architecture to get us that last 33% of the way there, or in terms of distance, that last 1/8 of the way there. Does that make sense? That's what SLS is designed to do. SLS with the Orion variant and a Delta IV upper stage is designed to get people out to Gateway. SLS-1B with the EUS and a cargo bay, the aft cargo carrier, or the universal stage adapter is what it's called, with the Orion on top of that, is designed to get people and the lander out there. Or lander parts. You still need a bigger rocket, but you have like kind of a train station, all right, or a gas station in this particular case. 66% of the way there. You could use it to refuel. You could use it as an anchor point to refuel your lander or resupply your lander. You could do a bunch of things with it. It's actually really not a bad idea. Now, if it was up to me, I like the Saturn V. I think the Saturn V is a much better approach. But the Saturn V doesn't get you a space station around the moon. And the space station is the sustainable way forward. Why is it the sustainable way forward? It's terrible from an engineering point of view, but if you look at long-term sustainable programs in the U.S. and with international partners over the course of the last 30 years, what's the one program that's still running 30 years on from right now that we still send spacecraft to? The ISS. If we build something like that out at Gateway, that'll ensure long-term sustainability because nobody wants to be the person that pulls the plug on a lunar-rated space station. No one's going to do that, just like nobody wants to pull the plug on the ISS right now. Gas station, you want a space slushy? You want the soup or the special? Special comes with the slushy. Does that make sense, Ryan? It's 7/8 of the way there in terms of distance, not in terms of energy expended. In terms of energy expended, it's 66. It's about 2/3 of the way there. Because it saved 30 billion. Yeah, that's right, Tessa. He had the soup. I had the soup. He had the special. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Yeah, right. Free hot dog with every 2 billion gallons of LOX. Yep. Slap an ion engine on Starship and call it a day. .com, that would be about as useful as putting a desk fan on a semi-truck and hoping it's going to move you somewhere. Check, please. Yeah. Hello, babe. No soup for you. We're just combining memes, right? I just hope that the ISS won't collapse on itself one day because no one wanted to pull the plug on it, though. It's going to get harder and harder to maintain eventually, Swishio. Right now is probably about the right time we should be looking for a replacement, but NASA is working on that. The commercial low Earth orbit development program, they're working on it. Water my butt! Get this guy some Pepto-Bismol! That's right. Nice, banana time. Can we add this? Sure. What's Dimitri up to? Alright, what do we got here? Isn't Axiom going to put modules on the ISS and slowly replace and dump the old modules? Something like that, Tessa, yeah. The commercial development of low Earth orbit that program is independent of Axiom, which is pretty cool. That means NASA's they have multiple plans there. All right, what's Dimitri up to? Baikonur. Yep. Nope. All right. Multifunctional. Yeah, okay. A multifunctional laboratory module is being prepared for launch to the International Space Station. So this is the Russian Nauka module. So it's a Russian science module. Let's see what we got here. There it is. They're going to launch that up to the ISS a little later this year. Very nice. Remove the docking port. Or the docking port cover, I should say. Those are heat shields right there. Awesome. Will it leak? Probably not. Very nice. That's not right. Nauka's 10 years away until it's not. All the red stuff is going to pop off eventually. The cool thing about this module is that it's going to have a robotic arm made by the Europeans attached to it. Isn't Nauka older than the ISS? Well, the thing about Nauka is its hull is that old, Tessa. Nauka was originally built for Mir 2, and it was in very early production when the Soviet Union collapsed, along with Zarya and Zvezda. And then they found metal chippings inside of the pressure vessel because they basically stopped working on it. So the Russians basically had to take the entire thing apart and then put it back together and decontaminate the entire thing and then assemble it. Yeah, the thing sat in limbo for a really long time. The Russians have been looking to launch that thing up into space for about 10 years, but it was only until when Dmitry took the reins of it a couple years ago that he was like, okay, what's wrong with it? They're like, oh, it has chippings in it. And he goes, so clean it out. Well, we're gonna have to take it apart. So clean it the frick out, Jesus. It's basically how that went down. So they cleaned it and they put it back together, and now they finished it, and now they're gonna launch it into space sometime later this year. Shackstar, nice. This is what the docking upgrades on the ISS were for, right? Yeah, the last Russian EVA where Sergei and Sergei went outside. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. I'm just looking. Sorry, I'm looking through something on the side. No, that's wicked funny. Okay. They get to go outside. Yeah. So yeah, Nauka's Starship news when? Alright. Alright. Jeez. How concerned about those modules with the crack should we be? Not. It's not a big deal. Nah, nothing. It was a different thing, Brimo. I'll tell you about it in a second. Okay, I think that's everything. The cracks on the ISS craft so, okay, the ISS is supposed to lose air. It really is designed like that. The reason is because there's no way you're going to make it 100% secure when you bolt a couple of modules together like that. That's like saying I'm going to have a boat and the boat isn't going to have water leaking into it. Spoiler alert. Anything that goes in water is going to have water in it. I know. Even if your hull is completely sealed, you're going to hit a splash and a drop of water will go inside and it'll eventually pool in the keel of the ship or the boat. That's why boats have bilge pumps, okay? There's a pump. You ever see like a fishing boat or something in the water and you see it kind of just pumping water out the side? That's a bilge. That's what it does. It keeps water out of the hull. The ISS is always leaked. It always leaks. It's just the rate at which it leaks at. The cracks are a problem, but it's not like something that's going to blow up the entire station. Knock on wood. It's not. It's really not. That's really not how it works. The reason is because you're not really going to get catastrophic decompression like that inside of the ISS, save like something terrible that I don't even want to talk about. A little leak like that isn't going to be that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. It's just something you have to keep track of, just like a boat taking on water. It happens. No, they're not going to let go. No. That's not how that works. The stress that's being put on the metal is not that bad. Why? Why is it not that bad? Okay, let me put it to you like this. Crafter, do you own a car? Yes, here it comes with the car analogies. Yep. Crafter, honestly, do you own a car? You ever ridden in a car? But movies never lie. Sure. That's correct, Tessa. Well, Crafter, even if you have or haven't owned a car, all right, the pressure inside of your tires on your car are a higher pressure differential than the ISS to vacuum. The ISS is 14 psi inside, so it's 1 atmosphere. Outside the ISS is 0 atmospheres. So we're talking about a 15 pound per square inch, roughly, delta here. The pressure inside your tires is usually 30 psi, 2 times atmospheric pressure. So your tires total, comparatively to vacuum, are 3 bar, 3 times the pressure. And they have steel in them. They hold just fine. I mean, it's steel rubber radials, but you get the idea. Long story short, the pressure differential isn't that bad. It's like a slow leak that you just gotta keep track of it. It's not gonna let go. Trust me. I keep my tires above 40 psi. Going for that fuel economy, are we? Yeah. It's not that big of a deal. Anyway. Guys, I gotta take a pee-pee real quick. I'll be right back. When I get back, we'll get into the Starship news. I have 2 videos from NSF and then a comment on Elon about SN11 here. I'll be right back 1 second. This is gonna be a quick break. I keep my brain at 200 psi because, you know, that makes sense. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, Starship news. He posted another video about Pritchal. Oh. So Pritchal is the next module that they're going to send up. Is that the Russian for Uwu? That's weird. Etil will Odniha. All right. Anyway, this is another one ready to ship to the ISS for work with the Russian crew. The module is called Nodal or Birth. It's a T to provide additional docking places for new modules and spacecraft on the ISS. I'm going to send them to the station at the end of the year. Yeah, so that's Pritchal. Cool. I haven't seen any updates on Pritchal ever. Have you done Starship news yet? No. Is that what Pritchal means? You. Is that what that means, Kem? Looks almost ready to yield. Well, let's take a look. Let's see what we can see. Yep, dock. Got it. So check this out. Pritchal's basically, it's a 6-axis node. That's what it is. It's a 6-axis node with a bunch of APAS ports on the sides, and then on the top and the bottom. So on the major axis of the vehicle, there's Soyuz. There's Soyuz ports. See? So this port right here, that's a Soyuz docking port, but it's called an SSVP. But the SSVP is the female version of the Soyuz docking port. Soyuz, the spacecraft, flies with the male version. Now, if we go look back at Dimitri's other tweet here a second ago of Nauka, look at the front. Well, can't see it there. Pritchal is going to attach to the front of this, and it's cool because the front module will have an SSVP on it. It'll have a Soyuz docking port. So the front of this is basically an orbital module. It's like a little mini orbital module. The Russians, they have a very modular design with their spacecraft. Even so much that to get new modules up there, to get Pritchal up there, it's derived enough to be able to fly on Soyuz. It's kind of crazy. Check this out. So how Pritchal is going to get up there is literally attached to a Progress capsule, and it's derived from the orbital module here. I'm trying to get a good picture of it. So the Russians, with their kind of standardized docking ports, are able to move modules up there, and they can use Soyuz's I'm not getting a good picture. Here, this one's on Anatoly Zak here. Check this out. So if you look, actually, it's got, yeah, okay. So there's a male SSVP and the female SSVP. So it looks like I got it backwards here. Nauka has a SSVP, so a Soyuz can attach to it, and Pritchal has has the male version and then a female version here. And Pritchal, if I'm looking at that right, is derived from an orbital module because it can fly on a Progress capsule in place for the orbital module instead. See that? See, that's just a Soyuz service module with a Progress, right? And then Pritchal on the top. It's all derived from the orbital module. It's actually pretty damn smart. Hey, Gameplay, what's up, man? How are you? Sick plane builds lately, man. How's things? I actually think that's really cool. That's a really smart idea. In fact, Freedom 7 and DART and the in our career mode save, Freedom 7, DART, the Sigma capsule, and then the transfer stage design all is kind of borrowing a couple of thoughts about how that all works. Good, thanks. Making the ISS, believe it or not. I'm sure whatever you make will be great, man. There's the female Soyuz docking port. So a Soyuz could attach to this, and it looks like Pritchal is going to attach. I thought that Nauka had the male and Pritchal had female on it, but that doesn't make sense. It's actually reversed. So this is the bottom of the capsule. This will be at the very bottom of the station. Derp. Oh, hang on. Let me give you a regular. Dude, you could just post. Oop, you're not red. I made a typo. Man, we're both screwing up today, huh? Problem is that it's my stream. Should be screwing up on my stream. There you go. Post your links away, my dude. Let's take a look. This looks like some STS-88 action to me. I like the Zarya. That Zarya looks very good, man. Very good. Yeah, see? You made custom solar panel. Dude, good job. Those look exactly like it. That's actually really good. And I can already tell, the hinges collapsed over each other. They can close up just like Zarya's. That's actually really good. So, gameplay is mimicking the STS-88 mission here.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
STS-88 was the first ISS assembly mission where Zarya, the core module of the ISS, the Russians launched it into space on a proton rocket, and then the Americans sent up the shuttle with the Unity module here, with PMA-1 and PMA-2. Hey, Fractal gifted us up to gameplay. Thanks, Fractal. So the crazy thing about this is that the shuttle went into space, right? So you want to think about the logistics of this mission. Look at what we see here, okay? So you see the functional cargo block, the FGB, which Nauka is derived from. Nauka actually looks like this, all right? They launched it in, honestly, the exact same way that they're launching Nauka. In fact, I'll bet you the equipment that they're using to integrate Nauka was last used when they launched this in 2000, right? So they put a grapple port for the latching end effector on the arm on the module. Just one, right there, right? And then the shuttle, before it got near the module, they grappled the Unity module with the two pressurized mating adapters out of the bay, right? So the shuttle couldn't fly into space with this thing docked, right? So they docked Unity onto the space shuttle's pressurized mating adapter, right? And then the shuttle, with this dock to the docking port, flew near Zarya and hovered next to it, and then they grabbed Zarya with the robotic arm and mated PMA-1 from the functional cargo block to Node 1. That's a ballsy freaking mission. The shuttle flying with an ISS module attached to the docking port. That's what they had to do. What will launch the new Axiom stuff? Probably Falcon, if I had to guess, Alleviate. Think about how ballsy of a mission that is. That's what gameplay is doing here. That's what he's replicating. I'd say you nailed it. It looks pretty right to me. STS-88 was a freaking ballsy mission. Sergei Krikalev was on that mission. He is the commander of the... Well, the Russian name is different, but the American equivalent would be commander of the Astronaut Corps. Sergei Krikalev is the director for cosmonaut operations for Roscosmos. He was on this mission. And Eileen Collins, the first female shuttle commander and the first female shuttle pilot, not in that order, reverse that, commanded this mission. It's not an easy mission to do when you think about it. This is really difficult. Because this thing is not, that's not very structural right there. So this is just a bunch of docking ports. So imagine in KSP you have a bunch of docking ports attached to your shuttle. And now imagine that you have to get this all near something without the modules doing that. Krikalev was also the first to fly on Soyuz and dock to the ISS. Yep, he was on Expedition 1. Actually, that was his next mission after STS-88, Kem. Jeez. He went up on the space shuttle, docked to Zarya, docked the two modules together, right? And then immediately came back down, and then started training for Expedition 1, and then launched, like, 2 years later? Like, I get it, 2 years later, but that's actually a lot. That's a lot of training. That's 2 quick launches. 2 different launch vehicles within 2 years? That's pretty impressive, man. I knew there was a reason I liked him. GRUK makes some pretty awesome stuff in KSP. He also suffered from the same syndrome as you. Stock only. Rocket, if Gameplay and I are using the stock game and you're the one using mods and you say we're weird, I can tend to say that majority rules. I think you're weird, sir. Gameplay, high five. Gameplay, back me up. Put your damn hand up to your computer and high five me. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Whoosh. You're the weird one, not us. No, chat, it was for gameplay. Not, all right, jeez. Your monitor. Sorry. My bad. I'll own my weirdness. All right. So yeah, good pictures of Pritchal and Nauka. Good stuff. Very good. All right, Starship news. So, SN11. If you haven't seen the SN11 footage, well, there really is none, but here.
See anything? Okay.
Let's...
We had Jack and Mary both out there, y'all, and that was definitely it came in
here
hot. Somewhere we lost it, just like you said, Chris.
Let's go back over
11.
Okay. I can tell that this is after or before a certain thing because the Yucca plant isn't there. So if you saw SN11, here you go. Or if you didn't see it, here's long story short what happened. Headphone users, you might want to just...
Engines are getting ready. Here they go.
There was an orange...
Look at that.
Whoa!
Did it...
Our camera...
It hit the ground. Okay.
Our camera... flying debris and pieces of Starship. There's stuff smoking on the ground in front of the camera. I switched to it here. We didn't get anything from Spacex. There is debris actively raining around the camera. You can hear it on the mic. There was all sorts of pieces. You can see smoking pieces directly in front of the camera right there. That white thing.
Yeah, chat. Badger, I think you said it right. I don't think that one's going to buff out. Yeah. So, SN11 had a little bit of an issue, okay? And Elon actually clarified this issue the other day. Actually, this morning. I keep saying the other day, but... So does that mean it's not coming on then? The replay that DAS does really shows it. Yeah, I'm going to see if they have like a... I just went and scrubbed it from the original footage, but I'm sure they have a cut video of it somewhere. Yeah, here. This is the cut up video. Here. Here, let's just give it a little bit of a booster here. So watch the yucca plant. Okay. Oh! That poor tree! Ah! Yeah, SN11 had a little bit of a problem. We kind of been around saying, like, you know, is it the flight termination system? Did something go wrong? Did an engine explode? Well, Elon's clarification is, it pretty much explains it. Here, take a look. So, Elon says about SN11, the ascent phase transition to horizontal and control during the free fall were good. A relatively small CH4 leak led to a fire on engine 2 and fried part of the avionics, causing a hard start attempt landing burn in the CH4 turbopump. So, this is getting fixed 6 ways to Sunday. All right. So, I had said on the way up that that fire on the engine, that had happened before and it wasn't that big of a deal. Well, that was the methane leak, I'm pretty damn sure, because it's coming from the methane side of the machinery on Raptor. So anybody that pointed out that fire and said that looks like something's wrong, I'd said it wasn't wrong because of the plume coming out. If the fire, if you have a leak, right, and it doesn't change the plume, it's obviously not flow related, right? Apparently it is. Apparently that was that little like squirt of a leak was enough to fry the avionics, which wouldn't technically impinge flow, I guess. That makes sense. I didn't get that one right. And so when they went to land it, that tells me that they rushed propellant into an engine that had a leak. So that means there was air inside of the lines if there's a leak, right? And what do I always say? I always say in regards to engines with thermal conditioning, chilling down an engine means you're priming the lines and putting only fuel in the lines. Because if there's anything else in the lines that's not liquid methane and liquid oxygen going into your engine, you're going to have a bad day. Well, that's your result. This is why they thermally chill engines, because they pop if they don't. If you try to throw cold propellants into an engine like that, that's not been thermally conditioned, you get what happened with SN11. There you go. This is a case of such failure occurring before and the mode being essentially no effect, but in further testing discovering that there's a nasty failure mode lurking that is catastrophic. Yep, that would be the right way to say that, I guess, Prey. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So Goalie, they did the rocket equivalent of hydro-locking an engine, an internal combustion engine. Yeah, this stuff is complicated. So long story short, they had cold methane hit the hot methane, it compressed it, and it sprung the leak, and that caused a big pop, which caused a cascading effect, most likely puncturing a tank. And either that or they compress the gas so much that the methane, so if it's leaking, that means oxygen from the atmosphere is getting into your methane line. So anytime the fuel is going to be compressed, if you compress liquid methane coming from the liquid methane tank and there's a leak, which means there's oxygen in there, and you throw it through an impeller and you compress it, for instance, that means you're getting booms not in the rocket engine. Yeah, and that could potentially cause a cascading failure up the methane line and blow the methane tank to smithereens. Which, with this new information from Elon, I'm going to say that's most likely what happened. I wouldn't say the combustion chamber, Hellfish. I think what happened here is basically what happens if you get air in your brake lines. You get air anywhere in your brake lines, you're screwed. Anywhere in the plumbing on a rocket engine, like I said, they're liquid fuel rocket engines. If you don't have liquids going into your liquid fuel rocket engines, you're going to have a bad day. A very bad day. Now, look at any time during Starship's testing when anything but liquid methane has gone into the Raptor engine. So on SN8, they had no liquid methane going into the Raptor engine and mostly LOX. Broke the engine. On SN9, they had helium going into the engine. Gaseous helium and liquid methane going into the engine. Failed failed. Well, it failed to fire, right? 10, same thing. They had helium going into the engines. Inert gas inside of something that's supposed to blow something up, not a good idea. That inert gas, spraying inert gas into a combustion chamber is actually how they put out SRBs if they need to. Yeah, okay. Also not a good idea. And 10 bonked the ground because of the same thing, and then 11, they had a leak, so that means oxygen was getting in there and not helium. So if you have oxygen, in your methane line, and you try to compress it, it'll auto-combust, like a diesel. The engine will basically do the equivalent of dieseling, but the problem is it won't diesel in the combustion chamber, it diesels in the lines. So as soon as that thing meets something hot, yeah, your methane downcomer basically turns into a fuse at that point, if I'm thinking about this right. And if it turns into a fuse, where does the fuse lead? The fuse leads to the methane tank. Ooh. Yeah, that explains that. Cavitation in the turbopump found a stoic ratio and turned into a very cool bomb. Yeah, pretty much. And then the and then once Prey, you're gonna get a cascading failure if your turbopump goes. I mean, am I in the ballpark here, man? It sounds like you know what you're talking about here. Yeah, that thing basically did something along the lines of what the almost 6-second stage did. Yeah. You'd need some high energy explosion to get it to fragment, to get the tanks on Starship to fragment like that. Meaning you had a rapid pressure change. Like really fast. Turbopump explosion like Cygnus that one time. Pretty much, Wisp. So a fuse to the CH4 tank. Now keep in mind my downcomer fuse to the CH4 tank is just a theory, but I'm trying to think how could cavitation in the turbopump lead to a catastrophic failure? That's one way. There's 1,000 different ways that could have gone down. I mean, another way I can think of off the top of my head is if they had an overpressurization event because of combustion inside of the methane downcomer, the methane line could break, and what does the methane line go through? It goes through the oxidizer tank. So if the methane line snaps and starts spraying fuel into the oxidizer tank, and the oxidizer tank goes to the engines, it's going to find a source of combustion. It's going to find a source of ignition, and also same result, a gigantic fuel air bomb inside of the rocket. When Raptor boomed, the plumbing bringing the fuel oxidizer to Raptor likely spilled in the CH4 tank, and O2 and CH4 mixed while another engine was burning. Prey, how do you know that? That's a likely theory. Do you rockets, man? You seem to know what you're talking about. Yeah, basically Starship did the danger to manifold, but instead of the floor falling out, the entire back of the rocket exploded. Kaboom! Yeah, I mean... Yeah, Tessa, it did the equivalent of a backfire. Yeah, pretty much. It's like when a car backfires and it burps flames out the top. That's basically what happened. Aerospace major. Right on, dude. Hell yeah. Yeah, Prey, I can't think of anything else. Like, based on... I mean, what Elon said kind of narrows it down to a couple of different things, you know? So shutting off the laptop wasn't going to fix this issue. No. Right on, Prey. Hell yeah, dude. Thank you for contributing, man. I try to get my terms right. This is... See, I'm not an aerospace major, so I'm trying to get it right. So any directional steering that'll help me get me on the right path to explain this correctly, I'm all for. I mean, Hellfish, that's the only way. The only way I can think of. So, like, okay, once again, you have an accident investigation, okay? You have your end result, all right? Your end result is a massive failure on the rear part of Starship. So basically from... like this point where my finger is back, this entire part of Starship catastrophically failed to the point where it blew up so fast that it fragmented the outside. What does that mean? So if you play Call of Duty or a shooting game or whatever, you have your frag grenade. What is fragmentation? Basically, a fragmentation is a very, very short, very high energy explosion. And that high energy explosion causes the casing that inside of it to fragment, basically crack into a million pieces and shoot them out in all directions. That's called shrapnel. SN-11 turned into a gigantic fragmentation grenade. And in order to do that, just like the grenade, you're going to need an extremely quick release of energy, meaning the fuel tank basically exploded. It must have hit the oxidizer tank. They must have combined somewhere in the plumbing flow, atomized, and then met a source of ignition, probably from the other Raptor engine that was firing, like what Prey said. That's the most logical solution. So, like, you have Elon's given information over here, and then you have the end result, and you try to connect the two. I'm trying to bridge the failure modes together. That's what I'm thinking. I know a test is never really a failure, but how many times do you think we'll end these tests with explosions before they get it right? How many tests did it take to get Falcon 9 right? I mean, so someone getting fired for not using enough JB weld? I don't think so. What are your KSP missions today? I'm not sure, Pixel Cat. I'll get back to you on that one. Yeah. I'll get back to you on that one. I don't really want to talk about it. I'll get to that a little bit later. Yeah, pretty much, Tessa. Guys, yeah, this stuff is complicated, man. And it's amazing to me that SpaceX is figuring out what's going on. They traced the failure mode basically in a weekend, which is pretty damn cool. Do you still believe Starship will make it to orbit by July 1st? Liam, that's an ambitious goal. Elon sets ambitious goals on purpose, not to make the goal. He sets an ambitious goal on purpose to kind of keep his employees sharp. Always strive, always push yourself. That's what he really believes in. At least I think. I don't speak for the guy. I really don't. But I'm pretty sure he sets those goals. Okay, so like think about it like this, okay? You have a project. You think the project is going to take 2 weeks, okay? You think it's going to take 2 weeks. So what do? Give yourself a week. Right? It's actually pretty smart when you think about it. Right? So you give yourself a week. So you start busting face. A week goes by, and obviously, because it's a 2-week project, right? You're not going to get it done in a week. That's why you gave yourself 2 weeks. But because you busted your butt, you get it done in a week and a half. Long story short, how SpaceX works is that they're the kid that gets the homework done on Friday. All right? Does that make sense? Why is there no SN-12? I'll get to that in a second, Koala, actually. Hey, Klavic, 44-month resub. Does Starship have a black box equivalent? Every rocket does, ProSkill. Yeah, every rocket flies with a flight data recorder. The flight data recorder isn't on the rocket, though. They actually downlink that information in real time on a rocket. It's actually better than a flight recorder. I guess more specifically, if there's propellant that isn't properly pre-combusted reaching the combustion chamber or engine bell, you can get short detonations. Hard starts don't always result in this. See Antares failure. But as we saw in the Raptors case, it did. Pray, whatever happened to that sucker, I saw a picture of one of the Raptor engines. Not the one that detonated, obviously. I saw a picture of one of the Raptor engines, and the casting for the methane turbine, the casting was bent. Casting. Do you know how much energy you need to bend a casting? Like, I'm sure you do, but that castings don't bend, they crack. You need to get the metal to essentially recast itself. You need to melt it, and that's how it bends. You don't bend castings. Castings crack. They're like rocks almost. They behave like rocks. The methane turbine housing. So where the after the post pre-burner, going into the combustion chamber, the turbine. So turbine to into the combustion chamber. That was bent. It wasn't from the impact either, which that's ridiculous to be able to bend a casting. So something went big. Something went big. Catastrophic failure. So kind of like Antares, but somehow the fuel tank, the fuel in the oxidizer tank got involved. They joined the party. Raptor engine explodes. Fuel and methane tank has joined the chat. Okay, Tessa, what was your last? Wouldn't surprise me if they had an inkling that would be an issue, hence why 12, 13, and 14 were skipped. Okay, so that's the next thing, all right? Is Starship still in the running for the human landing system? As far as we know, yeah. So, couple of things here, okay? Now, here's what we know. So, SN11 was the last Starship of that kind of run, production run of Starships. So, in the beginning, there was SN1, SN2, SN3, SN4, SN5, and SN6. So 1 failed completely because the tank design wasn't right. 2 popped. 3 popped as well, if I'm remembering correctly. 4 blew up on the pad because of they had a problem with the umbilical attachment point. It obliterated itself on the pad. 5 and 6 were very similar. 4, 5, and 6 were very similar in design. Okay? 7 and 7.1, 7.2 are test articles. 8, 9, 10, and 11 are very similar in design. They're very similar. And the reason why 12, 13, and 14 were scrapped is because they were similar. They're basically SN8's design, just copied over and over and over again. Now, I'm fairly confident when around the time 12, 13, and 14 came into the fold, SpaceX had enough data to figure out that design wasn't good enough. So they basically said, screw that way of designing Starship and Raptors. So Raptor as well. We're going to start over. What's the next thing in line for serial production? All right. Well, what was the next thing in line at that time? SN15 was the next one. So they said, okay, what Starships in our pipeline right now are more than, say, 50% complete? I'm making that up. I'm guessing that's what they chose. Chose doesn't have a T in it, idiot. I'm guessing that's what they chose. And they probably said, okay, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are closer to being finished. 12, 13, and 14 are nowhere near close to being finished. So they scrapped 12, 13, and 14. And then started basically fresh at 15. That's why there's no 12, 13, and 14. 15 is a major iterative design change. Now, Prey, you'll appreciate this. The plumbing is completely different on SN15. How the downcomer pipes work and how the thrust puck works in terms of propellant distribution is completely different. So that's one thing. So it has an upgrade on the plumbing. Clearly something that SpaceX had problems with all the way up to 11 because, I mean, methane. So the methane tanks were having problems on 8. I don't know if the other ones were Raptor oriented or Starship oriented, but at this point in time, I'm going to say that because SpaceX does so much testing with their Raptor engines, I'm going to guess that Starship is probably the bottleneck in the design right now. 15 is probably going to address the problems that they encountered during 8, 9, 10, and 11. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean that the Raptor engines are all the same. GrabShark actually linked me this image, and these are pictures from NASA spaceflight. And then somebody did a comparison. There's the engines that flew on 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And then there's the engines that we think are designed for 15. Now, here, I'll let you look at the difference, and you tell me which one... I'll let you look at 2 of them side by side, and you tell me which one you think is different. Well, this is the ones that we're used to seeing right here. That guy. That's the ones that were on 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 11. They look like this. This one over here definitely doesn't look like that. SpaceX had a major iterative design change with Raptor very recently. Are Raptor engines also on Falcon 9? No. So this tells me that they're still trying to figure out... They're still trying to really figure out Raptor a lot more. There's still, like, I mean, look at how much more tightly packed everything is here. Look at how much, like, all the components are kind of closer together and stuff. It's pretty nuts. So that tells me that these failures might be with Raptor, they might be with Starship. It's kind of hard to say, but because rocket science is so incredibly difficult, I'm inclined to say there's probably just failures all over the place with the design. Can you link this picture? Yeah, sure. They completely changed it. I can tell you right now that this... it doesn't look like there's much plumbing changes, to be honest, guys. There's slight relocations of things. It looks like all the pneumatic lines and all the tap-off lines that are associated with a staged combustion cycle are more compact. Hang on. That face when your buddies keep showing you pictures of cars that you can afford but absolutely shouldn't. Stop it! Stop it! Stop doing that! I want it! Last. Okay, Novus, what's up, man? Hi, by the way. I wonder if the overpressure event sent a shockwave up the downcomer and caused a rupture between one of the segments. That's what I was thinking, dude. I mean, Novus, there's like, don't get me wrong. There's 1,000 ways that cavitation in your methane turbo pump on a staged combustion cycle could cause a catastrophic explosion like that. But 1,000 ways in rocket science is actually a pretty narrow margin, right? There's only so many things that could do to cause the tanks to fragment like that, right? You know, there's 1,000 ways to do it, but 1,000 ways for something to happen with rocket science is actually pretty small, right? Because this stuff is that complicated, you know? But I think that's right. That sounds correct to me. As bombastic as these failures appear, they are menial to fix. Autogenous pressurization in ullage collapse is a largely complicated thermodynamics equation. Oh, tell me about it, dude. Pray, I scratch the surface of this stuff, and sometimes I'm like, do I really understand this, or am I just nodding my head and smiling? Let's see. Autogenous pressurization. Hey, Dencloso. Grazie. 2-month resub. Is largely a complicated thermodynamics equation with unknown variables. Both Raptor failures we have seen have not been results of massive design oversights, and SN10 was a case of Go Fever missing a known issue. You could choose to experience these kinds of things on a test stand without flight experience, or bite the bullet on hardware with flight experience. Yeah, Pray, I frankly couldn't have said it better myself, man. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. Stuff is difficult. It's really difficult. How I try to describe rocket science people to hear, Pray, is that it's like playing a game of Tetris. You really don't win. You just kind of get better at it.
Go and throttle up.
Every attempt you get better at it, and then eventually you'll get the high score, but you never really win. You never win at this. It's like Pac-Man. You don't win. You just kind of push or you lose. But yeah, especially during testing. And that led to another theory that we were kind of coming up with, Pray. You basically just said, and I'm going to be like, I don't want to be like in hindsight after you said it, be like, oh yeah, well that's what they're doing. Everybody asks, well, why don't they just use a test stand? And honestly, my answer to you is that, my answer to the people that say that is I think the Starships are the test stand, and that kind of proves that theory. Level 256 and Pac-Man is winning. Hey, Predominant, what's up? 27-month resub. Okay, but Starship is too fragile for what it needs to do if it runs like that at the first hard start. This is just another way they figured out for Starship to not work. It's better to find these problems now than later. It's because it's so complicated that I'm surprised they haven't built a flip rig with 2 header tanks to test relights. Hellfish, honestly, think about what would be the best way to test that. I can't prove it, but I'm pretty damn sure that that's the cheapest test stand right there. That's the cheapest test stand to test this. Like, am I right? Hey, Knight, what's going on? Plus, they're getting more data than a test stand can provide. Yeah, honestly, good luck building a test stand to simulate flipping 2 header tanks at 90 degrees and relighting 3 engines. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. What the hell that test stand would need one hell of a gimbal. You'd need to make a gimbal that's as big as Starship to really test that correctly. I don't think SpaceX has any business wanting to do that. Or any need to want to do that. They just build the damn thing. That's literally easier. I honestly think that's how they're doing it. They don't want to green run the damn thing. That's not how they work. I think in Hellfish, don't get me wrong, like, I think that I will go out on a limb and say that all these starships blowing up and failing are still cheaper than trying to build a dedicated test stand to make this happen. Certainly, they're running many simulations in parallel as well. One pop. Yeah, Brainiac, pretty much. That's Elon Musk, man. Repetition, 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 repetition. If you want to make a rocket that runs like an airplane, start producing it and testing it like an airplane. But the thing is that if you think about how airplanes are tested right now, airplanes take thousands of test flights before they even see people on it. And sometimes they still don't catch all the damn things, but that's another story. But if you look at like airplane designs back in the day, like in the 30s and the 40s, it was just, hey, build something, fly it, see if it works. And a lot of test pilots croaked because the plane was a piece of junk. Even into the 60s, Yuri Gagarin died in a test flight for a trainer MiG, if I'm remembering correctly. This is like designing rockets right now. We seem to be approaching kind of the rapid R&D and prototyping phase that airplanes saw in the 30s. So, you want to test it like an airplane, you wouldn't attribute Starship testing to modern airplane testing. You'd attribute Starship to airplane testing when airplanes were as kind of an advanced concept to the time period as rockets are to us now. You know what I mean? Test-driven development. Do your development in QA at the same time. Pretty much. I know people are going to hate me for this, even mentioning it, but it's agile. It's agile business development. It's Elon Musk to a T. A Starship test stand would only simulate the flip anyway. None of the deceleration. Yeah, you wouldn't exactly get the results. And it's what Prey was saying. Prey, you nailed it. You nailed it, dude. Testing, testing how the fuel is going to flow when the thing does that is ridiculous. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm quite frankly amazed that one even got near the ground in one piece, let alone as, back to the landing pad. I don't think... Okay. I was going to say, I don't think people understand how complicated the fluids flowing around is. Well, okay. Think about having a bathtub, all right? You have a bathtub. Or 2 bathtubs, and they're closed together, right? And one of them is full of water. So you have a bathtub that's empty and half a bathtub that's full of water. And then the drain is on the bottom, all right? The drain is on the bottom of the tub. Now, take that tub and flip it. Flip it 90 degrees. How hard is it to keep the water going in there? All right? It's actually a better example would be if you had 2 bathtubs vertically like this, and the drain is on this side. And then you turn it so the drain is at the bottom. You're still going to get air going in there. It's a real complicated thing to fix. And not even that, because you're sloshing the propellants around that creates bubbles. And that's basically what happened with SN10. When Starship was doing its flip, the propellant sloshed around inside of the tank, and because they're using helium gas for tanklage, right? The propellant sloshed, and some helium bubbles went into the downcomer, and then that went into the engine. It's no one's ever tried anything remotely like this with rockets, ever. Like, ever. This is complicated stuff, man. They're in uncharted territory all day. Bladders within the tank. I mean, game coder, these tanks have baffling and if I had to guess, SpaceX probably has an anti-vortex structure built in at the drain for the bathtub, so to speak. We're in super uncharted territory with this stuff. Like I said, I'm frankly amazed that the Starships are even making it near the pad. I'm amazed that they got engines to relight. Like, it is quite frankly ridiculous. So you're telling me the other day that one day I will have rocket-powered hovering houses. Maybe. I'm amazed they got it even near the pad, let alone 8 crashing into the pad. But it does seem like SpaceX is making some serious Raptor upgrades and also plumbing upgrades with SN15. The rate of iteration is going to go fast, so I think it's going to be sooner rather than later that they're going to get one back. If you want to attribute it to Falcon 9 1.1, which every Falcon 9 subsequently is based off of the 1.1 design, right? So there was Falcon 9 1.1, there's Falcon 9 1.2, there's Falcon 9 full thrust, and then there's Falcon 9 1.2 full thrust Block 5, or just Block 5 if you really want to be sure. Like, and 1.1 had some, like, it was really difficult to get that thing to land. All right, you really had to worry about the fuel margins, right? And then 1.2 more likely to land with the densified propellants, right? And then there's full thrust, and then there was Block 1, Block 2, Block 3, Block 4, Block 5, right? Block 5 being the final iteration of Falcon, right? We're at Falcon 9 1.1 right now. What does that mean? The rate of change between 1.1 and 1.2 is huge. Okay, so there we're talking about big iterative design improvements here. Okay, and then as we get closer and closer to Block 5, the rate of stuff that's changing on Falcon 9 gets smaller and 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 smaller until by the time you're at Block 5, the rate of iteration basically freezes. With Starship, we're way over here. We're way back over here. So you're going to see a lot of rapid changes right now, and you're going to have a lot of failures until they start making those increments smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Bladders is a common suggestion, but ullage collapse is about maximizing the temperature difference between your ullage gas and liquid propellant, which is more difficult with methane. It's really a fuel management and minimization challenge that consumes time to solve procedurally and mathematically, and I have no doubt they have a process to keep ullage collapse within Raptor's fuel flow tolerance. Yeah, I mean, they'll get it. They'll get it for sure. Also, yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of time, dude. But yeah, see, there's SN15's downcomer. It's completely different. How this worked before was the downcomer split into 3 right here, and then right underneath that, the LOX downcomer split there as well. This thing has one big... They incorporated the downcomer into the thrust puck, so no doubt that's going to affect the plumbing in some way, shape, or form. It's totally different. So, long story short, all these Falcons failing, not a big deal. Yeah, here's a comparison. So not only are they upgrading the Raptors, but they're upgrading the see, that's the old design. See all this? Yikes. This goes to the liquid oxygen header tank. There's the main liquid oxygen valves right there. And then the methane tank split above it. See that? See how simplified this one is over that one? What caused the explosion in SN-10? A hard landing probably cracked a fuel tank. Yeah, see the differences? Big differences. Big. Yeah, Thomas, thank you. Yeah, see, there's major plumbing differences in 15. This says SN12 plus, but this is an older thing when they first made it. When we first saw this from a couple of months ago. Is Starship's nose right now hollow? Yes. Buck, I was always convinced until I saw the newer iteration of Raptors that all of these problems come from Starship and not necessarily the Raptor. I mean, with what Elon said about SN11, that's not exactly correct. Yeah, Admina, from what I understand. Shorter plumbing run equals more flow. Yeah, Hellfish, but once again, with Raptor having a leak and stuff, that tells me that Raptor and Starship are being designed in parallel. And then what we're seeing is the parallel testing of them as one unit right here. So we have upgraded versions of Raptors, so obviously they don't leak. And we also have upgraded versions of Starship, so the plumbing doesn't cause problems like what we saw during 8 and 9. Just a guess, though. And if anybody's wondering, the reason I'm rocking back and forth in my chair is because my back is sore. I'm trying to stretch the discs in my back. This definitely helps. That's also when I do this. I'm stretching my back out. So, I'll bet you we're going to... I mean, if I had to guess, 15 is going to get near the pad. But I'm not sure about it landing in one piece. It's definitely going to get near the pad. Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to see a success from it right off the bat. But it's possible. It's possible. I mean, it's going to happen sooner rather than later. SpaceX will get a landed Starship by the end of this year at this rate of progress, I'd say. Sounds like SpaceX should go with the Felpro gaskets instead of Autocraft. I see what you did there. Remember the first Raptor to fire. Yeah, I mean, they've made crazy iterations and upgrades on that. Is 15 moving to still new legs, or is that still up in the air? I'm not 100% on that one, Defrig, to be honest with you. Have you thought about getting an inversion table? I have one already. I use it when my back is sore. Guja, this chair has good lumbar support, but sometimes I'm leaning forward like this to look at something or playing a game. But yeah, no, it's no problem. Anyway, to finish up space news, guys, I'm going to pop us into some videos with NSF, and then we got to talk about what's going on with KSP. So, with my space program in KSP, because I screwed up. I screwed up bad. So this footage is from April 3rd. Let me just make sure I'm showing this in the right order. Okay, yep, we are. All right, excellent. Let's see what we got. So SpaceX extended the tents where they build the nose cones. You see they have a nice gantry crane in there for putting the nose cone all together. Oof. Oh, force. Jeez. Hey, EJ, I just read why they pushed Crew 2 to the 22nd. Any idea as to why? It could be something as simple as they just weren't ready, B-Money. Whenever you're going down to a launch, guys, just on a side note, whenever you're going down to a launch, okay? Yeah, flying upside down, Tessa. Budget 3 or 4 days out. Seriously. So if the launch is on, like, a Monday, all right? Schedule your trip for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, okay? Because launches do scrub. I remember when the Orbcomm 2 mission... The Orbcomm 2 mission was scheduled to go off on a Sunday... And SpaceX pushed the launch out like 5 days. I ended up spending like a week in Florida when I was only supposed to spend a weekend there, and I missed like a week of streams. But I also got to see the first Falcon 9 land ever. So that was worth it. Yeah, that. It's always a good call. Yeah, B-Money, you book 5 nights, you're good to go. Another thing to consider for the ullage problem is the extremely low volume of ullage gas means that the rate of change of pressure relative to change in temperature is much higher. Ideal gas law will always rear its ugly fingers. It's such a pain in the butt, Prey. Like, yeah, I mean, and I'm not just yesing you to death. I actually know what you mean. You know, if the temperature of your ullage is different than your propellant, it's going to turn some of your propellant into gas, and that's a problem. Yeah. Big pain in the butt, man. Especially with re-entry. Freaking ideal gas law is a big pain in the butt, man. The French have a device that can fix your back or any ailment permanently. I mean, yeah, no, I'll take the inversion table. Yeah, exactly, Snake. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and man, yeah, there you go. Wish I could have streamed walking in the mobile launcher and stuff. You guys really would have liked that. How you doing, Snake? If the next Starliner test is a success, will it launch people? Depending on what happens in the mission, they're going to have to analyze the data. If they analyze the data and confirm through the data that it's safe for people, it will fly with people. Man, they work fast. Yeah, I know, right? Look at how tall BN1 is. It's just the drones, RB. I wonder what kind of software they use to go through the data. It's probably proprietary, Hellfish, if I had to guess. I'm just looking around for anything different, Farfugia, to be honest with you. We'll let Alfred Hitchcock film. I see what you did there. So 15 is already nearing completion, guys. We'll probably see that on the pad sooner rather than later. Oh. Well then. Hello. Still looks like a grain silo with flaps. Yeah, I know what you mean. What is BN1? Booster number 1. It's the first prototype of the first stage for Starship. Yeah, King Kitten. This looks much more like a spaceship or kitchen appliances. But hey, spaceship though too. Probably not intense, to be honest with you. What are those spikes on the barrel section? They're basically a guide to be able to put something else on top of it. So like if they're gonna put one section on top of another, that's the guide to get it into place. What's that, Hired? I have not, but that's okay. Yep, that's a thing. The aft tank number 5 booster. Once they finish stacking, how do they stop them from falling apart? They weld them. Uncapping, when you stack the rocket together, it's actually pretty stable. It's a column. Columns are the best way to resist gravitational pull. That's why buildings have pillars. in the foundation. Like, think, heck, I mean, look at the Parthenon in ancient Greece. It's been up for 2,500 years. It's still standing. You know why? Pillars. A cylinder is the best way to provide passive resistance to gravitational pull. Why? Gravity is pushing down on the structure, okay? It's pushing down on it. That's causing compression load. The compression load is evenly distributed around all edges of a pillar. That's why they're so strong. There's no corners. There's no stress points. Trees, another good example. Yeah, there you go. There's a reason why trees aren't square. Yeah, Broskill, there you go. That's probably a better example. The hexagon is bestagon. Oh god. But Minecraft. Trees are square in Minecraft. Boy. I'm not even touching it. I'm not. Nope. I'm gonna be over here. Okay, his pictures of the build site here. Character, 9-month resub. Yo, check out Real Engineering's X15 vid. That just came out the other day, character, right? Let me punch a tree, goddammit. Still putting up more concrete there. Yeah, builder, they can. There's maintenance hatches inside of everything. So when they put it on there, it's not like they're gonna, weld it from the outside and never get inside. These things, boosters, Falcon 9, boosters like Falcon 9 and Starship have an inward opening hatch. You could see it. It's like a hexagon plate with an elliptical shape inside, with an elliptical circle. It's an inward opening hatch. You make a perfectly good analogy, and chat ruins it. Welcome to my life, Zeke. They've been doing that for almost a decade. Yeah, you get used to it after a while. Starship's probably coded in MATLAB. Jeez. Don't leave your keys in there. No foreign object debris inside of the Starship. I think SN11 is a good example as to why you shouldn't do that. That's not even foreign object debris. That's naturalized object debris. And it still messed it up. We're not ruining your analogy. We're holding you to a higher standard. Oh, that's what you call that. I just covered it a second ago, whatever. If you want to go back in the VOD about 20 minutes, we covered it pretty lengthy. Here's a pic I took, also furred. What's that, Hired? Yeah, it's a $100,000 custom Jeep right there. A little excessive, but still cool.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Sometimes I do that, D-Pick, yeah. Maslam, if chat didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all. That's gonna piss a couple people off. But that's my job. You guys annoy me, I annoy you. I annoy you. It's a symbiotic relationship. So it looks like they have the this is a pusher bar, basically. They put this on the suborbital test mounts, and they put Starship on top of that, and it basically pushes up in the same way that the engines will. They do it to test out loading up structurally the Starships with similar loads. I would assume that they would see during ascent. I did, Richu, yeah. The NASA spaceflight picture with the Vector on the horizontal test stand. Yep. I think it's for 15 builder, but I'm not sure. Dodge. Yeah, Dodge is alright. It's a great white buffalo right there. Great white buffalo. The thrust ram is for 15. There you go, builder. These guys still working on the still working on that orbital launch mount. Consumables are delivered to the tank farm. Yeah, there's a freaking line of them. BN1 is basically going to be a structural pathfinder. Snakes, excuse me. I said snacks. I'm sorry, snakes. I'm just hungry. That's all. Elon said that it's going to be a structural pathfinder, which basically means they're going to use it to test out stacking a Starship, and maybe use it for a pressure test. Maybe. I don't know though. I don't know that for sure. Couple tanks of some high quality propane right there, I tell you what. Yeah, dang it, Chad, if you weren't my son, I would give you a hug. What about people who want to use hypergolic propellants? We ask them politely but firmly to leave. That Chad ain't right, I tell you what. Follow up on the turbo encabulator bit from work. Boeing's finest have decided that by inverting the inverse inversion and tweaking the califragilistic expialidocious, we can increase efficiency by a factor of 9-point glorp. That's almost 3 gazorpazorps. Yeah. Oh, nice drones. I mean, that makes sense, Dish. Ugh. How many schmeckles is that? Well, speckles is a unit of currency, not an engineering unit, Shortus. Jeez. If you're gonna ask for a currency, ask for it in SMB, please. Standard bananas. Yeah. Yeah, the nature people ain't gonna be happy about that one. I'm pretty sure they already weren't. Ooh, yeah, you're gonna have to go pick all that up. That's kind of important. Yeah. Ooh. They're gonna be finding parts of that thing for a long time. Long time. Jeez. South Padre Island, I think. I mean, you're gonna have to do that at some point, Supercraft. Alright, that was video 1. Let's see what we got here. I mean, Thor, I'd be a little concerned if SpaceX left all that stuff out there. I would want it because I would want analysis on all the debris. What do you think of the distinct change in color on the Raptor bells? To me, it looks like they're using some form of Inconel 718 and pre-oxidizing the outside of the nozzle to form a protective layer in higher temp environments. I know it's Inconel, Prey, and a copper liner, a copper jacket on the inside. With cooling vanes in it. Yeah, it's definitely Inco. That's for sure. I think it's in-house proprietary, though. SpaceX has a huge material science division that people really don't know about. They don't... Elon posts about it all the time. He's posted tiles, metalwork, foundries. People are just like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, SpaceX does a huge amount of material R&D. And that's... And they do a lot of FEA and stuff, too. In Hawthorne. I know that. So yeah, I'm guessing it's probably some kind of Inco. And... I don't know about pre-oxidizing the outside of the nozzle, but... What I do know is that that's probably a sound guess, because you know good and well they're definitely going to have to worry about temperature when they have 20 plus of these things all next to each other. Yeah, a lot of people don't, like, there's a lot of space fans out there that don't understand you can't just cluster a bunch of engines together. Rocket engines are really only, a lot of rocket engines are only designed to have heat on the inside of the nozzle, not so much on the outside. An RS-68 is a good example of that. They're not really designed to be operated in close proximity to each other. Yeah, Score Space is going to be crazy. I can't say how they did it, but it definitely looks like they did something to the outside to deal with the heat from having 3 Raptor engines that close to each other. Yeah, Phil? Do you have any plans for the area east of the big bridge, south of the destroyer, and the swampy docks area? When this video is done, Josh, we'll look at the map. You can't just do 8x symmetry now, right? Yes, Pop Bear, yeah. Yeah, pretty much at the end of this video, so you got about 6 minutes. 6 minutes. No, it is too early to deploy dish. I am not ready. Alright, 2020, get her done. I've started work on a mining base for Minmus, planning on replacing the Boston 7 ship because it's too unwieldy. Oh, I like that. That's cool. The dome is pretty neat. Could be proprietary, but forming some Inconel alloys in reducing atmospheres for the film is to battle corrosion and typically turns green. That was the basis for the guess. I honestly pray that's getting into a metallurgy that's a little bit beyond me, but that sounds right. I mean, he posted a screenshot to General. All right. I haven't figured out what I want to do with that yet, Josh. Post something in the Minecraft General with what you want to do, and we'll go from there. Now they got an extending piece for the crane right there. Also some burbs. Not a rocket park. Not a rocket park, Josh. Maybe just a regular park would be fine. But also, we have to have player housing too. There's a lot of we have a high influx of players. Yeah, Thomas, I did the ABL news. Interesting. Okay, so that's the orbital launch pad. Yeah, I don't really want anything space-related, unless it's a space recovery ship. Do you have in Discord? Yeah, just exclamation point Discord in chat if you want to pop into my Discord. No, it's all good, Josh. Don't worry about it. Nice, subtly. No, Hillness, you're correct. Sorry, it's the Minecraft chat in Discord. There was an attempt, Maz. So they're moving the tank farm piece, the GSE piece that's being worked on at the build site. They moved it to here today. That's the Starship looking thing that has the tubes going down the side. It's a fuel tank for the Starship launch pad. I mean, because they're making stuff out of stainless steel, and stainless steel doesn't rust. I mean, it some variants do. I'm pretty sure this version doesn't. They can use it as GSE. It's just a way to keep costs down, I guess. Ferd. Hey, Jackery. Do you think Starship will need to get an abort system like Falcon 9? Dencloso, what I think SpaceX is trying to do with Starship is make it more like an airplane. And if it's going to fly on the frequency of an airplane, well, do airplanes have parachutes? Do airplanes have ejector seats? Does a 747 have any of those? No. No, it doesn't. Lifted sheriff's truck. I like that. I like the lifted sheriff's truck. That's cool. SR-22s have parachutes /S. Oof. Oof. Would it make sense to direct the plume from the pad towards the sea? It doesn't matter, Swishio. As long as something is like about 100 meters away from wherever you're directing the flume, it's fine. As long as there's nothing, you could pretty much direct it in any direction. I mean, 39A directed it to and from the sea. It went in both directions because they needed, the flame trench couldn't handle putting it all in one direction, you know? Did we ever find out if Zeus survived? I could go back and we could take a look if you want. So, I'm pretty sure that right around here is where 11's nose cone took a digger. I'm gonna go ahead and guess no. Probably not. Yeah, it was right here. The doghouse was right there. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and guess no. Maybe? Probably not. Zeus is probably in that dumpster over there. There's the crane extender. Poor Zeus, you cry every Tim. Yeah. Yeah, Prey, those things are like 70 G's a pop. I know, Boston Dynamics is down the street from me. Literally about 15 minutes away from my house. I could get you there right now, really quick. It's funny because you can see the room where they did the "Do you love me?" You could see that from the highway. It's right by 128, which is the highway that's near Boston Dynamics. They have a whole building for, dude, they bought a whole campus and stuff. It's pretty crazy. It had the PTZ cam. Oof. So yeah, this thing. That's one of Starship's fuel tanks that are going on the pad. Thomas, do we know if that's a methane tank? I think that's a methane tank, yeah? What is it with dogs and pioneering spacecraft? Hey, that would, well, I mean, is Zeus really a dog? No, Mason, I was not. Do I look like some freaking package-moving robot from Boston Dynamics, man? I was made at the Institute, son. Ugh, gross. Not 100% sure. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say, huh? Do you see Boston Dynamics and SpaceX working together for the first Mars landing with the Starship? I don't think there's any plans on them working together right now other than the Boston Dynamics robot that they purchased, but, I don't know. Stranger things have happened. Did you see the Raptor vacuum at McGregor? I did. You're talking about this picture? There's the Vactor. That's been there. That thing has been there for a while. The tags just say GSE2, so nothing confirmed. Interesting. Yeah, there's the picture. So this is a sea level Raptor over here. And there's a Vactor. Vacuum Raptor. Oh, neat, Tessa. Did you see this one? No. The new quickly progressing Raptor test stand at Spacex McGregor will house 2 vertical test bays for both sea level and vacuum optimized engines. It looks like SpaceX is interested in doing horizontal testing and vertical testing with Raptor, but yeah, pretty crazy. So each one of these cells right here has a crane, fixed boom crane that can pick the engine up, right? And I'm guessing that this is all collapsible right here. And these can collapse down and they could take like a truck and turn the engine upright and put it down on a stand to move it. You see how there's kind of a square underneath or a rectangle underneath here? Pretty sure that this entire platform is collapsible. And then on top here, there's a suppression system, a fire suppression system, in case something goes wrong. And then there's your propellant lines over here. Is that the full nozzle extension for the Vacuum Raptor? It looks like it, yeah. It's pretty cool looking. Vacuum Raptor, the Vacuum Raptor looks a lot like a shuttle. It's about, the nozzles are very similar shape to the shuttle engine, which is pretty cool. Man. I mean, guys, you could stand inside of that nozzle. Look at the handrail. The hand railings are, it's like 2.5 hand railings tall. That's huge. That's 10-foot diameter, so that's well beyond 2 meters there. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, Thomas, I knew that picture was up on tap here. There you go. Yeah, that's quite large. The vacuum nozzle doesn't look nearly as large as I'd expect. I wonder if the sea level Raptor is overexpanded at sea level. Oh. How many bananas tall is she? I don't know. There's no banana for scale in the picture. Jeez. 3 of each of these is supposed to be on Starship. Supposed to. This one is brilliant, but I like this. Yeah, nice meme. Jeremy Clarkson meme, very good. I think these are developmental engines, Johan. And I think this one is a developmental engine. I think we're not going to see that thing on any Starship anytime soon. The reason you can tell it's a developmental engine is see all this extra wiring? All that extra wiring on the sides is for sensors and stuff. sensors and things. No, that's what it's all there for. See all the extra sensors, all the extra wiring that's just kind of hanging there? It's all developmental instrumentation. So I'm pretty sure these are test mule engines. When you were at Intrepid, you used a Brimo for scale. Okay. You can tell it's developmental because of the way it is. You can tell it's a test engine because it's on a test stand. And you know what? That's pretty neat. Alright. I think that's everything. Alright, so. Oh, dear. Did I get all of it? I think I got all of it. Yep, okay. I'm feeling sensitive. Might test fire later. That's a engine serial number, not Starship serial number, Reshock. How did Minmus go? It's a fiasco. It wasn't too incredibly bad, but so long story short, when I launched the flight here. I'll switch this to KSP. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna need another coffee for this story. Alright, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Let me load KSP up. Let me get the music going. It wasn't that bad, just more disappointing, Tessa. Yeah, I screwed the pooch pretty bad. Here. I'm just gonna go get another pot here real quick, and then we'll talk about it, okay? Alright, I'll be back in a moment.